Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect, the whorl of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. The whorl of that transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It is a hexagonal figure, the abode, indwelling, predominated, and predominating aspect of the Absolute. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of self-luminous Krishna stands as the transcendental source of all potencies. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with sixfold divisions. The whorl of that eternal realm, Gokula, is the hexagonal abode of Krishna. Its petals are the abodes of gopis, who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are the garden-like dham, that is the spiritual abode of Shri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangular place named Shvetadvip surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Shvetadvip is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are separately located in each of these 4 parts. These 4 divided abodes are enveloped by the fourfold human requirements, such as piety, wealth, passion, and liberation, as also by the 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, which deal with the mantra and which are the basis of achievements of the fourfold mundane requirements. 10 tridents are fixed in the 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with the 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda, and Nila. There are 10 protectors, Dikpalas, of the 10 directions in the form of mantra. The associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red, and white, and the extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Bimala, etc., shine on all sides.
The Lord of Gokul is the Transcendental Supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. Still, her connection is not cut off from the absolute truth. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastime, in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency, Rama, by casting his glance at the deluding energy in the shape of sending his time energy, is an auxiliary activity. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Rama Devi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation, there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swamsha. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. This masculine symbol is the subjective portion of divinity, who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject to the supreme regulatrix Niyati. The conceiving potency in regard to mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord Maheshwar of this mundane world are of the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The person embodying the material causal principle, namely the great Lord of this mundane world, Maheshwar, Shambhu, in the form of the male generating organ, is joined to his female consort, the limited energy Maya, as the efficient causal principle. The Lord of the world, Mahavishnu, is manifest in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glance.
The Lord of mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands of heads, eyes, hands. He is the source of thousands of avatars. in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands of individual souls. The same Mahavishnu is spoken of by the name of Narayana in the mundane world. From that eternal person has sprung the vast expanse of water of the spiritual causal ocean. The subjective portion of Sankarshana, who abides in Paravyama, the above Supreme Purusha with thousands of subjective portions, reposes in the state of divine sleep Yoganindra in the waters of the spiritual causal ocean. The spiritual seed of Sankarshana existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu are born as so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered with the 5 great elements. The same Mahavishnu entered into each universe as his own separate subjective portions. The divine portions that entered into each universe are possessed of his majestic extension. That is, they are the eternal universal soul Mahavishnu, possessing thousands of heads. The same Mahavishnu created Vishnu from his left limb, Brahma, the first progenitor of beings. From his right limb and from the space between his 2 eyebrows, Sambhu, the divine masculine manifested halo.
The function of Shambhu in relation to jivas is that this universe enshrining the mundane egotistic principle has originated from Shambhu. Thereupon, the same great personal Godhead, assuming the threefold forms of Vishnu, Prajapati and Shambhu, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastimes of preservation, creation and destruction of this world. This pastime is contained in the mundane world. Hence, it being perverted, the Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with the goddess Yoganidra, the constituent of his own spiritual chit potency, full of the ecstatic trance of eternal bliss appertaining to his own divine personality. When Vishnu, lying in the ocean of milk, wills to create this universe, a golden lotus springs from his navel pit. The golden lotus with its stem is the abode of Brahma, representing Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Before their conglomeration, the primary elements in their nascent state remained originally separate entities. Non-application of the conglomerating process is the cause of their separate existence. Divine Mahavishnu, primal Godhead, through association with his own spiritual chit potency, moved Maya, and by the application of the conglomerating principle, created those different entities in their state of cooperation. And after that, he himself concerted with Yoganidra by way of his eternal dalliance with his spiritual chit potency. By conglomerating all those separate entities, he manifested the innumerable mundane universes and himself entered into the inmost recess of every extended conglomerate, Virat Vigraha. At that time, those jivas who had lain dormant during the cataclysm were awakened.
The same jiva is eternal and is for eternity and without a beginning joined to the Supreme Lord by the tie of an eternal kinship. He is transcendental spiritual potency. The divine lotus which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu is in every way related by the spiritual tie with all souls and is the origin of 4-faced Brahma versed in the 4 Vedas. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions. But he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. Then the goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all directions. O Brahma, this mantra, namely, Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Jana Vallabhaya Swaha, will assuredly fulfill your heart's desire. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, then all your desires will be fulfilled.
Brahma, being desirous of satisfying Govinda, practiced the cultural acts for Krishna in Goloka, Lord of Sweta Dvipa, for a long time. His meditation ran thus: there exists a divine lotus of 1,000 petals, augmented by millions of filaments in the transcendental land of Goloka. On its wall there exists a great divine throne on which is seated Sri Krishna, the form of eternal effulgence and transcendental bliss, playing on his divine flute, resonant with divine sound with his lotus mouth. He is worshipped by his amorous milkmaids with their respective subjective portions and extensions, and also by his external energy, who stays outside, embodying all mundane qualities. Then Gayatri, the mother of the Vedas, being made manifest, that is, imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered in the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself through his 8 ear holes. The lotus-born Brahma, having received the Gayatri sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of twice born, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, embodying the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn: I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all pleasures in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by the hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, who is adept in playing of his flute with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock feathers, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of Cupid.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose 2 hands are adorned with the flute and jewelled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful 3-fold bending form of Shyamasundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subjected to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of a blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis, who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas, by gaining the appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by her ever blissful spiritual rasas. Hare Krishna. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Sham Sundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the form of Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated to the infinities of glory of the mundane universe, appears as the indivisible, infinite, limitless truth.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is the absolute substantive principle, being the ultimate entity in the form of the support of all existence, whose external potency embodies the threefold mundane qualities, sattva, rajas and tamas, and diffuse the Vedic knowledge regarding the mundane world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose glory ever triumphantly dominates the mundane world by the activity of his own pastimes, being reflected in the mind of recollecting souls as the transcendental entity of ever blissful cognitive rasa. Lowest of all, located Devi Dham, mundane world. The next above is the Mahesh Dham, abode of Mahesha. Above Mahesh Dham is the place of Hari Dham, abode of Hari, and above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the ruler of those graded realms. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Just as the milk transforms into the curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither same as or nor different from its cause, milk. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction.
The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govind, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. I adore the primeval Lord Govind, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Sage, replete with the all-accommodating potency, and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world, in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep yoga nidra. Brahma and other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one exhalation of the later Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord Govind, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of portion.
That word is latter.
Latter.
One exhalation of the latter. The one that came.
One
from later.
Latter. I adore the primeval Lord Govind, from whom the separated subjective portion Brahma receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names of Suryakant, etc. I adore the primeval Lord Govind, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds.
The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements, that is, fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul and mind. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of universal cataclysm. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of good soul, is as the eyes of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained the manifested potencies that are found to exist of all virtues, all vices, and all Vedas, the Panasis, and all Jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insects. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insects that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of Devas. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditator of whom, by meditating upon him under the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fear, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain to bodily form befitting the nature of their contemplation.
I worship the transcendental seat known as Shvetadipa, where all loving consorts, the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence, practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover. Where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is the purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gait is a dance. The flute is the favorite attendant. Effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty. Where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to quality of passing away even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka, only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. On hearing these hymns containing the essence of the truth, the Supreme Lord Krishna said to Brahma, Brahma, if you experience the inclination to create offspring by being endowed with the real knowledge of the glory of Godhead, listen, my beloved, from me to this science set forth in the following 5 slokas. When the pure spiritual experience is excited by means of cognition and service, bhakti, super excellent unalloyed devotion characterized by love of Godhead is awakened towards Krishna, the beloved of all souls. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. These preliminary practices of devotion, sadhana bhakti, are conducive to the realization of loving devotion. Loving devotion than whom there is no superior well-being, who goes hand in hand with the attainment of the exclusive state of supreme bliss, and who can lead to myself.
Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. the realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of supreme service. Listen, O Vidhi, I am the seed, that is a fundamental principle of the world of animate and inanimate objects. I am Pradhan, the substance of matter. I am Prakriti, material cause, and I am Purusha, efficient cause. This fiery energy that belongs especially to the Brahman that inheres in you has also been conferred by me. It is by bearing this fiery energy that you regulate this phenomenal world of animate and inanimate objects.
Just turn to page 109 while we have the book out. And I want to read this translation and purport, text 59 on page 108. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. Purport. Evidence, the devotional scriptures. Example, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Gita, etc. Theistic conduct, the conduct of persons, of pious persons, sadhus, who are pure devotees, and the conduct of those pious persons who practice devotion to Godhead actuated by spontaneous love. Practice, to learn about the 10 basic principles, dashmul, from the Shastras, and on receiving the name of Hari as laid down in the same, embodying the name, form, quality, and activity of the divinity, to practice the chanting of the name by serving him night and day. By this are meant study of the Shastras and association with the sadhus. The 10-fold offense to the holy name ceases by serving the name of Hari and simultaneously practicing pious conduct. Practice is no other than following the mode of service of the name practiced by the sadhus without offense. I'll repeat. Practice is no other than following the mode of service of the name practiced by the sadhus without offense. One more time. Practice is no other than following the mode of service of the name practiced by the sadhus without offense. By perseverance in such practice and devotion characterized by love, which is the fruit of spiritual endeavor, makes her appearance in the pure essence of the soul. What is practice? It is no other than following the mode of service of the name practiced by the sadhus without offense. We have to follow tat tat karma pravartanat. And just by following in the footsteps of the sadhus, emulating, especially our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whom we take shelter at his lotus feet, we take his shiksha, and his mode of service. And by doing that, then, and assiduously avoiding offenses, then we can attain that love for God. Hare Krishna. And now let's chant the Brahma Samhita.
What is Dashamula?
Dashmula. That is a 10 basic tenets that encompass the entire teaching of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And you can get that from Malini Devi Dasi. We had this discussion 2.5 years ago, 2 years and 7 months ago, on the same morning. And she compiled the list, so did Shraddha Devi Dasi, I believe. Both have it. Do you have it right now? Okay. Maybe just send one to Damodar. We should have a class on the Dashmul one day. Shamalangi. Oh, to everybody. Do we have that facility? We used to have a Yahoo group that included everybody in the class. We have general. Okay. We should have general and general Shastra. Shastra general. One-stop shopping for Shastra. Okay, let's stand up and we'll chant the drums. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sakchit Ananda Vigraha Anadi Radir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Sahasrapatra Kamalam Gokulakyam Mahatpadam Tatkarnikaram Tadama Tadadam Tangsha Karnikaram Mahadyantram Shatkonam Bhadrakilakam Shadanga Shatpatistanam Prakritya Purushena Cha Premananda Mahananda Rasena Vastitam Hiyat Jyoti Rupena Manuna Kama Bijena Sangatam Tatkinjalkam Tadangshanam Tatpatrani Shriyambapi Chaturasram Tatparitaha Shweta Dipakyam Adbhutam Chaturashram Chaturmurtesh Chaturdama Chatuskritam Chaturbhi Purushartaischa Chaturbhir Hetubhir Vratam Shulara Dasha Biradadam Urdvado Digvadikshapi Ashtabhir Nidhibhir Jushtam Astabhi Siddhibhistata Manurupaischa Dashabhir Dikpalai Paritovratam Shamar Gauraischa Raktaischa Shuklaischa Parshadarshabhai Shobitam Shaktibhistabhir Adbhutabhi Samantataha Evam Jyotirmayo Deva Sadananda Paratparaha Atma Ramasya Tasyasti Prakrityana Samagamaha Mayaya Ramamanasya Naviyogastaya Saha Atmana Ramaya Reme Tyakvakalam Shashikshaya Niyati Sarama Devi Tatpriya Tadvasham Tada Talingam Bhagavan Shambhur Jyoti Rupa Sanatanaha Yayoni Sapara Shakti Kamo Bijam Mahaddarehe Lingayonyatmika Jata Ima Maheshwari Prajaha Shaktiman Purusha Soyam Linga Rupi Maheshwaraha Tasmina Virabu Linge Mahavishnu Jagatpatihi Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Sahasra Bahur Vishvatma Sahasramsha Sahasrasuhu Narayana Sabhagavan Apas Tasmat Sanatanad Abhirasit Kararnarno Niti Sankarshanatmakaha Yoga Nidram Katastasmin Sahasram Shastrayam Mahan Tadroma Bilajaleshu Bijam Sankarsanasya Cha Haimanyandari Jatani Mahabhuta Vratani Tu Pratyandam Evamekam Shad Vishati Swayam Sahasramurda Vishvatma Mahavishnu Sanatanaha Vaman Gadasrajad Vishnum Dakshinan Gat Prajapatim Jyotirlinga Mayam Shambhum Kurchadeshad Avasrajad Ahankaradmakam Vishvam Tasmat Etad Vyajayata Hatattaistri Vidhervesher Lidlam Udvahatakila Yoga Nidra Bhagavati Tasya Shri Reva Sangata Shashikshayam Tato Nabhes Tasya Padmam Baniryayo Tannalam Hemanalinam Brahmano Lokam Adbhutam Tadvani Purvarudhani Karanani Parasparam Samavaya Prayogascha Vibhinane Pratak Pratak Chichacha Sajamanota Bhagavan Adi Purushaha Yojayan Mayaya Devo Yoga Nidram Akalpayat Yojayitva Tutanyeva Pravivesha Swayam Guham Guham Pravishte Tasmimstu Jivatma Pratibudyate Sanityo Nitya Sambandha Prakritischa Paraivasa Evam Sarvatma Sambandham Nabhyam Padmam Harera Bhut Tatra Brahmad Bhavad Bhuyash Chaturvedi Chaturmukhaha Sanjato Bhagavat Chaktya Tatkalam Kilachoditaha Sushikshayam Matim Chakre Purva Samsara Samskritaha Dadarsha kevalam dvantam nanyat kim api sarvataha. Uvacha puratas tasmai tasya divya saraswati. Kama Krishnaya Govinda he gopi jana ityapi. Balabhaya priyahvaner mantram te dasyati priyam. Tapastvam tapa etena tavasidhir bhavishyati. Atate pe sasuchiram prinan govindam avyayam. Shweta dvipa patim krishnam golokastam paratparam. Prakritya gunarupinya rupinya paryupasitam. Sahasradala sampanne koti kinjalka brimhite. Ischintamanis-tatra karnikarye mahasane. Samasinam chidanandam jyoti rupam sanatanam. Shabda brahmamayam benum banayantam mukham bhuje. Vilasini ganavritam swarshar amsher abhishtutam. Atavenu nanadasya trayi murti mayi katihi. Spuranti praviveshashu mukhabjani swayambhuvaha. Gayatrim gayatastasmad adigatya sarojajaha. Samskritas-chadi gununa dvijatam agamat-tataha. Traya prabhudhota vidhir vignatat vasargaraha. Tushtava vedasarena stotrina nena keshavam. Chintamani prakadasanmasukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabira vipalayantam. Lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamadam. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Venum kvadantam aravindam dalaya taksham. Badhavatam samasitam buddhasundarangam. Kandarpakoti kamaniya vishesha shobham. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Alola chandra kalasadvana malya vamshi. Radnangadam pranaya keli kalavilasham. Shyamam tribangalalitam niyata prakasham. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Gani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. Pashanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. Ananda chinmaya sudujvala vigrahasya. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam. Adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha. Vedeshu dulamama bhaktau. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Pantastu koti shatavatsara sambragamyo. Vayodatapi manaso munipungavanam. Sopyastiya prapadasimnya vichintya tatve. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Ekopyasaura chaditam jagadanda kotim. Yat shakti rasti jagadanda chayayatanta. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Yad bhava bhavitariyo manujastataiva. Samprapya rupa mahima shayanana bhusha. Suktaryameva nigama pratitaistuvanti. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Ananda chinmaya rasa pratibhavitabis. Dabirya eva nijarupataya kalabi. Goloke eva nivasatya kilatma bhuto. Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. Santaksa deva hridayeshu vilokayanti Yam shama sundaram achintya gunaswarupam Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Ramari murti shukala niyamena tishtan Nanavataram akarod bhuvanesha kintu Krishna swayam samababat parama pumanyo Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Yasya prabha prabhabato jagadanda koti Koti shashesha vasudhari vibhuti pinnam Tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Maya hiyasya jagadanda satani sute Traigunya tad vishaya veda pitaya mana Sattva-valambi parasattvam vishuddha sattvam Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasatmatayamanasu Yapraninam pratipalam smarutam upetya Lilayatena bhuvanani jayatya jastram Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Golokanamni nijatam nijaleta tasya Devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu Tete prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Shristi stiti pralaya sarana shakti reka Chayeva yasya bhuvanani viparti durga Ichchanurupam api yasya chateshta tesa Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Shiram yatada dirvikara vishesha yogad Sanjayate nahitata pratagasti heto Yasham bhutam apitata samupaiti karyad Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Departure bahita shantanamabhyupetya Dipayate vravata hetu samana dharma Yastadrage vahicha vishnu chaya vibhati Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Yakarnarna bachale pajatisma yoga Nidramananta jagadanda saromakupaha Adhara shaktim avalamya param smamurtim Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Yasyaikani svisita matavalamya Jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanata Vishnur mahansa ihayasya kala vishesho Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Bhasmanyatasma sakadeshin nijeshu teja Swiyam kiya prakatayatta vitadvadatra Brahmaya esha jagadanda vidhana karta Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Adapallava yugam binidaya kumbha Dvanve pranama samayesa ganadi raja Vignan vidhantum alamasya jagatrayasya Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Ganganamam mumuru dishascha Kalastatatma manasiti jagatrayani Yasmad bhavanti vibhavanti vishanti amcha Govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami Yachchakshuresha safita sakalagrahanam Raja samasta suramuti rashesha tejaha Yasyagnaya brahmati sambrata kala chakro Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Dharmo tapapa nichayashtutayastapamsi. Brahmari kita patagavadayascha jivaha. Yadatra matra vibhava prakata prabhava. Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Gopamatavendra mohosa karma. Bhandanurupa palabhajana matunoti. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayari Piti. Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaurava Seva Bhavai. Sanchintya Tassa Sadrishim Tanama Purete. Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Sriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo. Druma Bhumishchintamani Garamayi Toyamamritam. Kata Ganam Natyam Gamanam Api Vamshi Priyasaki. Chidanandam Jyoti Paramapi Taraswadyam Apicha. Sayatra Shirabhi Sravati Surabhibhyasya Sumahan. Nimeshardyakyo Vavrajati Nahi Atrapi Samayaha. Bhaje Shweta Dvipam Tamaham Iha Golokamitiyam. Vidantaste Shantakshiti Viralachara Katipaye. Ato Vacha Mahavishnur Bhagavantam Prajapatim. Brahman Mahatva Vignane Praja Sarge Chachinmatihi. Pancha Shlokim Mimam Vidyam Bhattatattvam Nibodhame. Prabhude Jnana Bhakti Vyam Mayananda Chinmayi. Ude Dunitama Bhaktir Bhagavat Prema Lakshana. Pramanaistat Saracharaistatarabyase Nirantaram. Bodhayanatmanatmanam bhaktimapyutamam labet. Yasya shreyaskaram nasti yaya nivritum apnuyad. Yasaryati mameva bhaktim tameva sadayed. Dharmananyan parityaja mamekam bhaja vishwasan. Yadrishi yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi. Kurvan nirantaram karma loko yamanavartate. Tenaiva karmana dhyayam mamparam bhaktimicchiti. Aham hi vishwasya characharasya bijam pradhanam prakritihi pumamscha. Maya hitam teja idam bivarshi vide videhi twamato jaganti. Ishvaraha parama Krishna sakchidananda vigraha. Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Iti Sri Brahma Sanghita Sampurnam. Hari Om. Shri Shri Radhamadan Mohan Ji Ki Jai. Sing the Dasavatar Stotram. Because you can't go wrong singing the Dasavatar Stotram. Hare Krishna, Carlos.
Yeah. Oh, Dashatara usme shahid nahi hai.
Page number?
115.
115. 115. Pralayapayobdi jale dritavannasi vedam. All together. Vihita vahitra charitra makedam. Keshavadrita mina sharira. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Shitiriha Vipulatare Tishtati Tava Prishde. Dharani Dharana Kina Chakra Garishte. Keshavadrita Kurma Sharira. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Vasati Dashana Shikare Dharani Tavalagna. Shashini Kalanka Kaleva Nimagna. Keshavadrita Shukararupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakamad Bhuta Shringa. Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanubringam. Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Chalayasi Vikramane Balimad Bhuta Vamana. Padanaka Nirajanita Janapavana. Keshavadrita Vamana Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Kshatriya Rudhira Maye Jagadapakata Papam. Snapayasi Payasi Samita Bhavatapam. Keshavadrita Brigupati Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Vitarasi Dikshurane Dikpati Kamaniyam. Dashamukha Mauli Balim Ramaniyam. Keshavadrita Rama Sharira. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Vahasiva Pushi Vishade Vasanam Jaladabam. Halahati Biti Milita Yamunabam. Keshavadrita Haladara Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Nindasi Yagya Vidhera Shuti Jatam. Sadaya Ridaya Dashita Pashukatam. Keshavadrita Buddha Sharira. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Mletshani Vahanidhane Kalayasi Karavalam. Duma Ketumiva Kimapi Karalam. Keshavadrita Kalkisharira. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Shri Jaya Deva Kaveri Damudita Mudaram Shrina Sukadam Shubhadam Pavasaram Keshavadrita Dash Vidharupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Vedandudadate Jaganti Vahate Bhugolamudbhibrate Daityam Darayate Balim Chalayate Shatrashayam Kurvate Paulasyam Jayate Halam Kalayate Karunyamatanvate Lechan Murchayate Dashakriti Krite Krishnaya Tubhyam Namah. Now I will read the translations. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a fish, all glories to you. You easily acted as a boat in the form of a giant fish to give protection to the Vedas, which had sunk in the turbulent sea of devastation. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a tortoise, all glories to you. The great Mount Mandara rests on your gigantic back, which acts as a pivot for churning the ocean of milk, and which has thus been marked with a large circular scar-like depression. In this way your back has become most glorious. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a boar, all glories to you. The earth, which had sunk to the bottom of the Garbha ocean, sits fixed upon the tip of your tusk like a spot upon the moon. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a half man, half lion, all glories to you, with the wonderfully sharp nails on your beautiful lotus hands. You have ripped apart the wasp-like body of Hiranyakashipu. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a wonderful dwarf Brahmana, all glories to you. With your massive steps you deceive King Bali, and with the Ganges water emanating from the nails of your lotus feet, you deliver all living beings in this world. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Bhrigupati, Parashuram, all glories to you. You bathe the earth in the rivers of blood from the bodies of the demoniac Kshatriyas you have slain. In this way you wash away the sins of the world and give relief to those who suffer in material existence. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Ramachandra, all glories to you. In the battle of Lanka you destroy the 10-headed demon Ravan and distribute his heads as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions, a feat long desired by them all, whom that monster had much harassed. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of the plow-wielding Balaram, all glories to you. On your brilliant white body you wear garments colored like a fresh rain cloud, and the river Jamuna, whom you frightened with the blows of your plow. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Buddha, all glories to you. Your heart filled with compassion, you decry animal slaughter performed according to the scriptural rules of Vedic sacrifice. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of Kalki, all glories to you. Like a comet bearing the indescribably terrifying sword, you annihilate the wicked barbarian kings at the end of Kali Yuga. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed these 10 different incarnations, all glories to you. O readers, please hear this most excellent hymn by poet Jayadev, for it bestows happiness and good fortune, and is the best thing in this dark world. O Lord Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you, who incarnate in these 10 forms. In the form of Matsya, you rescue the Vedas. As Kurma, you bear Mount Mandara on your back. As Varaha, you lift the earth on your tusk. As Nrsinga, you tear open the chest of the door of the demon Hiranyakashipu. As Vaman, you trick King Bali. As Parashuram, you slay all the wicked Kshatriyas. As Ramachandra, you defeat Ravan, the son of Pulastya. As Balaram, you carry a plow. As Lord Buddha, you show compassion toward all. And as Kalki, you killed Mlechas. May I please have a 10th canto, 14th chapter. So we heard the Brahma Samhita, which is the quintessential set of verses describing Gaudiya Vaishnavism, has all the truths, all the Siddhanta in code form. And now I'm going to read to you another chapter which is particularly important to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is chapter 14 of the 10th canto. These are Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. O son of the king of the cowherds, your transcendental body is dark blue like a new cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning, and the beauty of your face is enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands of various forest flowers and leaves, and equipped with a herding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute, you stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand." So this is Lord Brahma. He's making prayers to Lord Krishna after he was a little confused because he was used to seeing Krishna in a four-armed form, or to seeing him as the controller and so forth. He met Krishna previously, so it's not that he didn't know who he was. It was Krishna who spoke to him the Bhagavatam, the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, 4 verses, and then said, "Padram te." He shook his hand and said, "Good luck, Brahma." And so they had this intimate relationship and friendship. And however, when Brahma came to Vrindavan, after there was much glorification of Krishna by the demigods, and he came to see what was going on, then he saw this little boy who was playing with his friends, having a picnic. He had food in both hands. He had food in his mouth. He was putting food in his friend's mouth, taking it back out again, and so forth. They're just playing like little children. And then he thought, "Can this be my Lord?" So, sort of in a playful mood, he took away the cows and the calves and the boys, and he thought he was taking them away. Krishna remanifested them exactly in their original forms, and when they all went back to Vrindavan, it fulfilled the heart's desire of all the residents of Vrindavan to actually have Krishna as their son directly. And he stayed like that for a year, and the calves also. And when Brahma came back and he saw that the original boys were still there, he couldn't imagine what had happened, and he became bewildered. And then Krishna showed him that actually these were all his expansions, and that he, this little boy, this little cowherd, was actually the source of everything, the source of all the Vishnus, the source of all creation, the source of Brahma himself. And Brahma, being overwhelmed in ecstasy, fell down at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and then he offered these prayers, and that's what we're saying. I'm reciting the prayers now. Text number 2. Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. O son of the king of the cowherds, your transcendental body is dark blue like a new cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning, and the beauty of your face is enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands of various forest flowers and leaves, and equipped with a herding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute, you stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand. My dear Lord, neither I nor anyone else can estimate the potency of this transcendental body of yours, which has shown such mercy to me, and which appears just to fulfill the desires of your pure devotees. Although my mind is completely withdrawn from material affairs, I cannot understand your personal form. How then could I possibly understand the happiness you experience within yourself? Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the best path for self-realization. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and will not achieve his desired result. As a person who beats an empty husk of wheat cannot get grain, cannot get what? Grain. One who simply speculates cannot achieve self-realization. His only gain is trouble. O Almighty Lord, in the past, many yogis in this world achieved the platform of devotional service by offering all their endeavors unto you and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties. Through such devotional service, perfected by the processes of hearing and chanting about you, they came to understand you, O Infallible One, and could easily surrender to you and achieve your supreme abode. Non-devotees, however, cannot realize you in your personal feature. Nevertheless, it may be possible for them to realize your expansion as the impersonal supreme by cultivating direct perception of the self within the heart. But they can do this only by purifying their mind and senses of all conceptions of material distinctions and all attachment to material sense objects. Only in this way will your impersonal feature will manifest itself to them. In time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth, the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who have descended onto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. My Lord, just see my uncivilized impudence. To test your power, I tried to extend my illusory potency to cover you, the unlimited and primeval supersoul, who bewilder even the masters of illusion. What am I compared to you? I am just like a small spark in the presence of a great fire. Therefore, O infallible Lord, kindly excuse my offenses. I have taken birth in the mode of passion, and I am therefore simply foolish, presuming myself a controller, independent of your lordship. My eyes are blinded by the darkness of ignorance, which causes me to think of myself as the unborn creator of the universe. But please consider that I am your servant, and therefore worthy of your compassion. What am I? A small creature measuring 7 spans of my own hand. I am enclosed in a pot-like universe composed of material nature, the total material energy, false ego, ether, air, water, and earth. And what is your glory? Unlimited universes pass through the pores of your body, just as particles of dust pass through the openings of a screened window. O Lord Adhokshaja, does a mother take offense when the child within her womb kicks with his legs? And is there anything in existence, whether designated by various philosophers or real or as unreal, that is actually outside your abdomen? My dear Lord, it is said that when the 3 planetary systems are merged into the water of the at the time of dissolution, your plenary portion, Narayan, lies down on the water. Gradually a lotus flower grows from his navel, and Brahma takes birth upon that lotus flower. Certainly these words are not false. Thus am I not born from you? Are you not the original Narayan, O Supreme Controller, since you are the soul of every embodied being and the eternal witness of all created realms? Indeed, Lord Narayan is your expansion, and he is called Narayan because he is the generating source of the primeval water of the universe. He is real, not a product of your illusory Maya. My dear Lord, if your transcendental body, which shelters the entire universe, is actually lying upon the water, why were you not seen by me when I searched for you? And why, though I could not envision you properly within my heart, did you then suddenly reveal yourself? My dear Lord, in this incarnation you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. Although you are now within this universe, the whole universal creation is within your transcendental body, a fact you demonstrated by exhibiting the universe within your abdomen before your mother, Yashoda. Just as this entire universe, including you, was exhibited within your abdomen, so it is now manifested here externally in the same exact form. How could such things happen unless arranged by your inconceivable energy? Have you not shown me today that both you yourself and everything within this creation are manifestations of your inconceivable potency? First you appeared alone, and then you manifested yourself as all of Vrindavan's calves and cowherd boys, your friends. Next you appeared as an equal number of four-handed Vishnu forms, who were worshipped by all living beings, including me. And after that you appeared as an equal number of complete universes. Finally, you have now returned to your unlimited form as the Supreme Absolute Truth, one without a second. To persons ignorant of your actual transcendental position, you appear as part of the material world, manifesting yourself by the expansion of your inconceivable energy. Thus, for the creation of the universe, you appear as me, Brahma. For its maintenance, you appear as yourself, Vishnu. And for its annihilation, you appear as Trinetra, Shiva. O Lord, O Supreme Creator and Master, you have no material birth, yet to defeat the false pride of the faithless demons and show mercy to your saintly devotees, you take birth among the demigods, sages, human beings, animals, and even the aquatics. O Supreme Great, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Super Soul, Master of all mystic power, your pastimes are taking place continuously in these three worlds. But who can estimate where, how, and when you are employing your spiritual energy and performing these innumerable pastimes? No one can understand the mystery of how your spiritual energy acts. Therefore, this entire universe, which is like a dream, is by nature unreal. Nevertheless, it appears real, and thus it covers one's consciousness and assails one with repeated miseries. This universe appears real because it is manifested by the potency of illusion emanating from you, whose unlimited transcendental forms are full of eternal happiness and knowledge. You are the one Supreme Soul, the primeval Supreme Personality, the Absolute Truth, self-manifested, endless and beginningless. You are eternal and infallible, perfect and complete, without any rival and free from all material designations. Your happiness can never be obstructed, nor have you any connection with material contamination. Indeed, you are the indestructible nectar of immortality. Those who have received the clear vision of knowledge from the sun-like spiritual master can see you in this way, as the very soul of all souls, the super soul of everyone's own self. Thus, understanding your original personality, they are unable to cross over the ocean. Thus, understanding your original personality, they are able to cross over the ocean of illusory material existence. A person who mistakes a rope for a snake becomes fearful, but he then gives up his fear upon realizing that the so-called snake does not exist. Similarly, for those who fail to recognize you as the Supreme Soul of all souls, the expansive illusory material existence arises, but knowledge of you at once causes it to subside. The conception of material bondage and the conception of liberation are both manifestations of ignorance. Being outside the scope of true knowledge, they cease to exist when one correctly understands that the pure spirit soul is distinct from matter and always fully conscious. At that time, bondage and liberation no longer have any significance, just as day and night have no significance from the perspective of the sun. Just see the foolishness of those ignorant persons who consider you to be some separated manifestation of illusion, and who consider the self, which is actually you, to be something else, the material body. Such fools conclude that the Supreme Soul is to be searched for somewhere outside your Supreme Personality. O Unlimited Lord, the saintly devotees seek you out within their own bodies by rejecting everything separate from you. Indeed, how can discriminating persons appreciate the real nature of a rope lying before them until they refute the illusion that it is a snake? My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. My dear Lord, I therefore pray to be so fortunate that in this life, as Lord Brahma, or in any other life, or in another life, wherever I take my birth, I may be counted as one of your devotees. I pray that wherever I may be, even among the animal species, I can engage in devotional service to your lotus feet. O Almighty Lord, how greatly fortunate are the cows and ladies of Vrindavan, the nectar of whose breast milk you have happily drunk to your full satisfaction, taking the form of their calves and children. All the Vedic sacrifices performed from time immemorial up to the present day have not given you as much satisfaction. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaj, the cowherd men, and all the other inhabitants of Brajabhumi. There is no limit to their good fortune, because the absolute truth, the source of transcendental bliss, the eternal Supreme Brahman, has become their friend. Yet even though the extent of the good fortune of these residents of Vrindavan is inconceivable, we 11 presiding deities of the various senses, headed by Lord Shiva, are also most fortunate, because the senses of these devotees of Vrindavan are the cups through which we repeatedly drink the nectarian, intoxicating beverage of the honey of your lotus feet. My greatest possible good fortune would be to take birth My greatest possible good fortune would be to take any birth whatever in this forest of Gokula, and have my head bathed by the dust falling from the lotus feet of any of its residents. Their entire life and soul is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda, the dust of whose lotus feet is still being searched for in the Vedic mantras. My mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what reward other than you could be found anywhere. You are the embodiment of all benedictions, which you bestow upon these residents of the cowherd community of Vrindavan. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give these devotees of Vrindavan, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives and hearts are all dedicated only to you? My dear Lord, until people become your devotees, their material attachments and desires remain thieves, their homes remain prisons, and their affectionate feelings for their family members remain foot shackles. My dear Master, although you have nothing to do with material existence, you come to this earth and imitate material life just to expand the varieties of ecstatic enjoyment for your surrendered devotees. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think that way. As far as I'm concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. O my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. My dear Krishna, I now humbly request permission to leave. Actually, you are the knower and seer of all things. Indeed, you are the Lord of all the universes, and yet I offer this one universe unto you. My dear Sri Krishna, you bestow happiness upon the lotus-like Vrishni dynasty and expand the great oceans consisting of the earth, the demigods, the brahmanas, and the cows. You dispel the dense darkness of irreligion and oppose the demons who have appeared on this earth. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, as long as this universe exists, and as long as the sun shines, I will offer my obeisances unto you. Shukadeva Goswami said, having thus offered his prayers, Brahma circumambulated his worshipable Lord, the unlimited personality of Godhead, 3 times, and then bowed down at his lotus feet. The appointed creator of the universe then returned to his own residence. After granting his son Brahma permission to leave, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took the calves who were still where they had been a year earlier and brought them to the riverbank, where he had been taking his meal and where his cowherd boyfriends remained just as before. O king, although the boys had passed an entire year apart from the Lord of their very lives, they had been covered by Lord Krishna's illusory potency and thus considered that year merely half a moment. What indeed is not forgotten by those whose minds are bewildered by the Lord's illusory potency? By that power of Maya, this entire universe remains in perpetual bewilderment, and in this atmosphere of forgetfulness, no one can understand his own identity. The cowherd boyfriends said to Lord Krishna, "You have returned so quickly. We have not eaten even a morsel in your absence. Please come here and take your meal without distraction." Then Lord Hrishikesh, smiling, finished his lunch in the company of his cowherd friends. While they were returning from the forest to their homes in Raj, Lord Krishna showed the cowherd boys the skin of the dead serpent Aghasura. Lord Krishna's transcendental body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers and painted with forest minerals. And his bamboo flute loudly and festively resounded. As he called out to his calves by name, his cowherd boyfriends purified the whole world by chanting its glories. Thus Lord Krishna entered the cow pasture of his father Nanda Maharaj, and the sight of his beauty at once produced a great festival for the eyes of all the cowherd women. As the cowherd boys reached the village of Raj, they sang, "Today Krishna saved us by killing a great serpent." Some of the boys described Krishna as the son of Yashoda and others as the son of Nanda Maharaj. King Parikshit said, "O Brahmana, how could the cowherd women have developed for Krishna, someone else's son, such unprecedented pure love? Love they never felt even for their own children. Please explain this." Shukadeva Goswami said, "O king, for every created being, the dearmost thing is certainly his own self. The dearness of everything, children, wealth, and so on, is due only to the dearness of the self. For this reason, O best of kings, the embodied soul is self-centered. He is more attracted to his own body and self than to his so-called possessions like children, wealth, and home. Indeed, for persons who think the body is the self, O best of kings, those things whose importance lies only in their relationship to the body are never as dear as the body itself. If a person comes to the stage of considering the body mine instead of me, he will certainly not consider the body as dear as his own self. After all, even as the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong. Therefore, it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being, and it is simply for the satisfaction of this self that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exists. You should know Krishna to be the original soul of all living entities. For the benefit of the whole universe, he has, out of his causeless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He has done this by the strength of his internal potency. Those in this world who understand Lord Krishna as he is, see all things, whether stationary or moving, as manifest forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such enlightened persons recognize no reality apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna. The original, unmanifested form of material nature is the source of all material things, and the source of even that subtle material nature is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. What then could one ascertain to be separate from him? For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. Where there is what every step? Danger. It's very risky. Since you inquired from me, I have fully described to you those activities of Lord Hari that were performed in his 5th year but not celebrated until his sixth. Any person who hears or chants these pastimes, Lord Murari performed with his coward friends, the killing of Aghasura, the taking of lunch on the forest grass, the Lord's manifestation of transcendental forms, and the wonderful prayers offered by Lord Brahma, is sure to achieve all his spiritual desires. In this way, the boys spent their childhood in the land of Vrindavan playing hide-and-go-seek, building play bridges, jumping about like monkeys, and engaging in many other such games. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Tadati Swapadan Adatana Shridam Tanter Idam Jache Puna Puna Shrimam Rupa Padamboja Rajoham Shambhave Vave Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripasindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Sabashitaye Padapalava Plavam, Mahatpadam Punya Yasho Mararehe, Bhavam Budir Vatsapadam Param Padam, Padam Padam Yadvipadam, Natesham. 58. This translation is taken from Srila Prabhupada's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 51. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in the calf's hoofprint. Their goal is Parang Padam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, this verse summarizes the knowledge presented in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna's lotus feet are described as pallava, flower buds, because they are most tender and of a pinkish hue. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami, the word pallava also indicates that Lord Krishna's lotus feet are just like desire trees, which can fulfill all the desires of the Lord's pure devotees. Even exalted devotees like Sri Narada, who are themselves the great shelter for the conditioned souls in this universe, personally take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Thus, it is natural that when Lord Krishna manifested himself as all the young boys and calves in Vrindavan, their parents were more attracted to them than previously. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and being all attractive, the ultimate object of everyone's love. And that's the safety point, to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And this is the preoccupation of the devotees, especially taking protection from Krishna. Goptre vananam tata. This is the surrender process is focused on this, that Krishna is my protector. And those who take shelter in the material world are described as taking shelter of fallible soldiers. It's an illusory type of security that one gets in the material world. Dehapatra kalatra deshu atmasaigne susatsupi tesham pramoto nidhanam pashanapina pashyati. Although seeing that people are fallible in this world, still somehow or other I think that my body will protect me, my wife, husband, children, money, and so forth will protect me. But these are described by Shukadeva Goswami to be fallible soldiers. In the end, no one can protect us except for Krishna. And the more one enters into this conception of life, that Krishna is my protector and maintainer, this becomes the focal point of one's surrender. And the more that one takes shelter of the material world, thinking that this place is my home, or that even if it's not, I can, through my wit, I can make some arrangement here so that I'm protected. This is illusion, which will be dashed at some point. At least at death, Krishna says, Mrityu sarva harash chaham. I come as death and I take away everything. Sarva harash means everything must go. Nothing left behind. And that is the nature of the material world. In all of its aspects, it's unstable. And Krishna asks us to realize that when he tells Uddhava, Shruti pratyakshamai yam anamanam chatushpadam, that you should use all types of evidence to see that the material world is impermanent. Avanastanad. It doesn't have any real standing. It's here today and gone tomorrow. It's wispy and unreliable. And therefore, one who takes shelter in the material world, thinking that I'll find some solace here, is taking shelter in a dangerous place. There's a sign outside the material world that says, enter at your own risk. And what is risk? Padam padam yad vipadam. Danger at every step. Why is that warning there? That there's vipadam. Every step I take, it could be the last step that I take. We don't know because, I don't know because I'm in ignorance. And everywhere I step, there could be a hole. All around Vrindavan there are holes unexpectedly because there's no permit process apparently for building or digging holes. And you can be walking at night and simply step into an open hole and break your leg. It's happened before to many devotees. And this material world is like that. We don't really know where we're stepping. We're moving forward with some kind of faith that I'm safe in this material world, but it's not true. Therefore, this warning comes, padam padam yad vipadam. Vipadam means it's danger at every step. So there's a risk factor in the material world. And there's also a way in which Prabhupada describes how we must take risks in Krishna consciousness. So today I want to talk a little bit about risk and what it means. So first of all, I'll just tell you the origin of the word. It's a noun. And the definition is a situation involving exposure to danger. A situation involving exposure to danger. The possibility that something pleasant or unwelcome will happen. A person or thing regarded as likely to turn out well or badly as specified in a particular context or respect. A person or thing regarded as a threat or likely source of danger. A possibility of harm or damage against which something is insured. The possibility of financial loss. To expose someone or something valued to danger or harm or loss. To act or fail to act in such a way as to bring about the possibility of an unpleasant or unwelcome event. To incur the chance of unfortunate consequences by engaging in an action. These are some of the definitions of risk. And the word actually originates from an Italian word which means danger. So risk means danger. It means something bad could happen when you make a risk. Another definition, risk is the potential that a chosen action or activity, including the choice of inaction, will lead to loss, an undesirable outcome. The notion implies that a choice having an influence on the outcome sometimes exists or existed. Potential losses themselves may also be called risks. Any human endeavor carries some risk, but some are much more risky than others. And then there's a science called risk management. And when I sent out the topic for today's topic, I don't think I had risk management, but you added it in, right? So risk management is the identification, assessment, and prioritization of risks. That is, some activities are more risky than others. So in risk management, we're identifying, assessing, and prioritizing risks. And there's a whole lot more about that because it's a science. Risk management has to do with probability theory and so forth. Any of you have studied statistics before, there's a lot about that in statistics that goes into the actual practice of risk management to see what things are more risky than others. And those who sell insurance to us are very much preoccupied with this science because that's how they make money. And they figure out which activities are more risky. You can, within a certain degree of certainty, understand which things are more risky than others. Which people are more at risk for having a heart attack, for instance. There are certain signs, like, anyway, I won't go into them. But there are certain things that one can see in a person that you can say that this person's at risk for heart attack and so forth through understanding statistics. And so there's risk management that goes on in the material world. And ultimately, though, Raki Krishna Mari Ke, Mari Krishna Raki Ke, that if Krishna wants to protect one, then no one can harm him. And if someone wants to harm you, then or if Krishna wants some harm to happen to you, nobody can protect you. Satyadev Prabhu used to tell me about all kinds of cases where people should have died and they didn't, and where they shouldn't have died and they did. I asked him one time when we were having a walk in Japan, I said, how many people did you save? And he goes, I never saved anybody. I only prolonged their suffering. And he's anyway, he told me many graphic examples of people who are definitely goners, but then miraculously they just lived. And other people that seemed to have some benign or innocuous little virus or something like that, and then 2 days later they were just dead and they were perfectly healthy. So although there are ideas about risk management in the material world, ultimately the whole proposition is risky. And there's only one real shelter, and that is to take shelter of Krishna. Krishna is the only real shelter. He's the supreme controller, and he's the only one that can ultimately protect us in all kinds of circumstances. So this is the main business of the devotees, is to take shelter of Krishna and to remember that he's my protector, he's my maintainer. And these are two of the limbs of surrender to Krishna. Krishna is my protector, Krishna is my maintainer. And there are many pastimes in Vrindavan, especially you can see from the Govardhan Leela, in which the devotees there had been engaged in ritualistic ceremonies to propitiate Indra every year in the Indra Yajna. And then Krishna came along, 7-year-old boy, and he said, what are you doing this for? Is this something you really think about? Or is this, does it really do anything? Or you just do it because that's what everyone does. And he began speaking all kinds of intricate philosophy, talking karma mimamsa, and he charmed the mind of Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men. And after a while, they just did whatever he said. And he told them that you shouldn't do this. You should be more practical. You should worship Govardhan Hill. That's where we're really getting everything from. And so they said, well, how to do that? So take all the stuff you were going to offer to Indra and just offer it to Govardhan. Actually, Krishna understood that Indra had pride in his heart, and out of mercy, he was going to cut down that pride. And we see that in the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. We just discussed around Gaur Purnima time about how the Digvijay Pandit was very proud of his ability to defeat others in debate. He had a benediction from Goddess Saraswati that she would appear on his tongue because he was worshiping her, and she gave him a boon that whenever you argue, whenever you debate, I'll appear there. And nobody could, practically everyone would just sign a sheet before they debated him. They could barely even understand what he was saying and so forth. And it's easy for pride to creep in. Pride creeps in. It's like a subtle little fog that can go under the door, through the cracks and everywhere else, and get into one's consciousness and obscure our vision of our being the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, and nothing more. It's actually easy to be the servant of the servant. But when pride creeps in, then I begin to think that I'm important, I have so many abilities. And Kunti says, Janmaishvarya Shuta Shribir Edamana Bada Puman Naivar Hat Yavidatum Vai Twama Kinchana Gocharam. This is a kind of intoxication, that I'm very learned, I'm very beautiful, and so forth. And I become proud, intoxicated, and then I lose my ability to pray to Krishna with sincere feeling. So Lord Chaitanya, of course, cut down the pride of the Digvijay Pandit and of others, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and was especially Prakashananda Saraswati. But he did it in such a way as to preserve their dignity and to allow them to continue on in the process of devotional service. So this is done by someone who is nindadi shunya hridam, means in their heart they have not the desire to destroy others, but actually to lift them up. And even if they point out something, or they point out some deficiency in the other person, or they chastise, because that quality of criticism for the sake of tearing someone down isn't there within the heart, then they're able to actually do good for them. And the person can accept it and improve. That's the art of giving criticism and so forth. So in the pastime, the residents of Vrindavan surrendered to Krishna because worshipping Indra was a matter of maintaining their livelihood. There was a thought that because we depend on the cows, and the cows depend on the grass, and the grass depends on the rain, we should do something about this. We should make sure, this risk management, make sure that we're getting rain enough. And that comes, according to the Vedas, by worshipping Indra. And Krishna said, forget it. Just forget that. And ultimately they took shelter of Krishna. And he said, just depend on me. Just depend on Govardhan. And he became Govardhan Hill. And this is one of the pastimes indicating the mood of the surrendered devotee. Vedeshu yagyeshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya palam pratishtam atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva yogi param stanam upaiti chajam. Krishna says in the last verse of the 8th chapter the 8th chapter, that if you just worship me, you won't be bereft of performing all these sacrifices or giving in charity and so forth. And the devotees who cultivate this and progressively turn their attention and faith and take full refuge in Krishna, live in this instruction. Ananyas chintayantomam yejana paryupasate tesham nityabdyuktanam yogakshemam bahamyaham. Krishna says, just exclusively, without any other shelter, take shelter of me, think of me. After all, you can't think of Krishna unless you're really taking shelter of him and depending on him as your protector. Just imagine when you sit down to chant japa, where does your mind go? Well, I can tell you where mine goes. It starts to solve all kinds of problems. There are so many things. I have to do this and that. But then I have to come back, as Krishna says, Shanai, Shanai, Ruparumed, gradually, step by step, bring the mind under control by the higher self. And then I'll say, I can't solve these problems, but Krishna can. And this is the mood of Vrindavan when the boys saw Aghasura. And I think that's the picture you put in there too. When they saw Aghasura, they thought, this is really dangerous. In fact, some of them ran away. And others said it was a real snake. Other ones said it wasn't a real snake. It was just a playground, because after all, there were so many miraculous things happening around Vrindavan. And then they all said, well, who cares what it is? We saw Krishna kill Bakasura, and he'll protect us. So let's just go inside. And looking at the beautiful face of Krishna, they went inside, and they gave up their, dependence on any kind of risk management, any calculation. They had their calculators out at first, and they were thinking, okay, snake, real, false, if he's real, what might happen, python species, what do they do to people, and so forth. And they just dropped it all, and they said, let's go inside. Complete act of faith. Walked into the mouth of this gigantic python. So, as I was saying, there are many thoughts coming into the mind, but when we chant japa, we have an opportunity to say that I can't solve these problems, I can't fix them, and just take shelter of the holy name. It's a relief. Just like when Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill and everyone came under the hill, even though there were torrents of rain coming down, nobody was harmed, nobody was touched. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we take shelter under this protective umbrella. Apanasam shritim goran yannama vivishogranan tatasadyo vimucheta yad bipeti swayam bhayam. Krishna manifests personally in his name, and fear personified is afraid of Krishna, and therefore, Sutta Goswami says, people can take shelter of the holy name, just like the residents of Vrindavan took shelter under Govardhan Hill. So similarly, we can take shelter under the Govardhan Hill of Krishna's holy name when we chant. And then all those external thoughts that I need to protect myself, they will simply be absorbed by Govardhan. They'll be repelled by him, by the holy name. And there's a great relief in this, that just let go, let Krishna, and take shelter of Krishna's name. And this is the essence of the lifestyle of a devotee, is to cultivate this more and more, that I'm simply taking protection from Krishna. And my calculations of how I'll live my life, which is necessary because we have two parts to our life, the Vyavaharika and Paramartika. Vyavaharika means the practical, day-to-day responsibilities that I have to maintain my body and the bodies and minds of my family and so forth. And I have to walk around. Even it's easy to think about things. For instance, I've realized this. It's easy to think about writing a book. But actually writing a book is a little more difficult. And there are ways in which there are lots of, it's easy to talk a good game in this world, but to actually get things done, it requires you have to get up and walk out and go meet people and meet deadlines and so forth. The Vyavaharika part of our life requires some kind of study, arrangement, organization, and so forth. And that must go on, because one can't maintain oneself even without work. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to work to some degree. And then we have our Paramartika, or the supreme goal in life, that I actually have nothing to do with this world. But if you act like that, you'll be shunned, even in devotional society. I mean, sometimes people come into the association of devotees, and then they assume this false, artificial position that I have nothing to do with the world. And then they become, again, consumed or absorbed back into the material world. There has to be balance in order to do that, in order to progress steadily on the path of devotional service. So to perform one's duties properly, one has to have a formula, and that's given in the Bhagavatam. Kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasya narto yashchaya karmabi. How much should I do to maintain my family? How much should I push my children to learn French, Chinese, German, Sanskrit, and be in the drama club, the fencing club, the debating club, there must be many, many more than that I have no idea about. So how much should I do all these things for my body, for my extended bodies and so forth? What's necessary for my career? Should I really put myself out and come to the top of my career as much as possible? And the Bhagavatam gives this, do the best you can so that you can maintain your balance so that you can hear and chant. And if you go over the line and you're doing so much that you have no possibility of inquiring about Krishna, inquiring is really a full-time occupation. When you really get into it, when you really want to know, you don't have time for other things. That's why Parikshit Maharaj, in 7 days, he didn't have time for eating and sleeping. Because this is our main instinct in human life, because this is the main gift we've been given. Atato Brahma Jignasa. That is the ability to acquire. That's the best ability that we have, the inquiry ability. And when it becomes pronounced, when it starts to come out towards Krishna, and Krishna is the supreme Brahman, then that inquiry ability expands unlimitedly. And we have to let it expand. We can't stifle that by the paramartika, by the vyavaharika aspects of our life and say, no, I have to come to the top of my career and inquire about all kinds of things inordinately, unnecessarily, so that we can expand that part of our life, which is already fixed anyway. And this is a part of balancing our consciousness, to understand the fact that no matter how hard you work, you're going to get what you get. Now, someone might say, oh, yeah, right, that look where it, got certain people, or, that kind of mentality. But Bhagavatam says, no, you work, you don't give up working, you don't simply abandon it, but you do it just enough so that you can maintain yourself, your body. You have to have your health. You have to be able to inquire clearly, and you should maintain it so that you can foster that spirit of inquiry about Krishna, about Brahman. And not more than that, and not less than that either. And as one goes through one's lifetime practicing, taking shelter of Krishna and having him as our protector and our maintainer, then gradually it becomes a reality. One can actually, that is the reality. It is the reality. It's simply that we realize it. So, in Vrindavan, we see that the devotees are fully dependent on Krishna. We should follow in their footsteps and learn from their example how they take shelter of Krishna. We should emulate that. Now, there's another interesting aspect of risk management and devotional service that I wanted to bring out, because Prabhupada talks about it first in the Nectar Devotion, and I'll read you a paragraph. The one point is that without increasing the number of disciples, there is no propagation of the cult of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sometimes even at a risk, a sannyasi in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may accept even a person who is not thoroughly fit to become a disciple. Later on, by the mercy of such a bona fide spiritual master, the disciple is gradually elevated. However, if one increases the number of disciples simply for some prestige or false honor, he will surely fall down in the matter of executing Krishna consciousness. So here the word risk is used, and it's in relationship to preaching. Someone may preach and then be obligated to take care of someone, give initiation. Prabhupada's godbrother, B.R. Sridhar Maharaj, said that the preacher catches the disciple by shiksha, and the disciple catches the preacher by diksha. Because when someone's preaching from their heart and they have some realized knowledge, then people will come and listen, and they'll become captured by it. They'll realize, I can't get around this. I have to surrender. It'll become an imperative in their life. And after that, then they'll become attached to that person, and they'll say, I have to have you and nobody else. I'm not going anywhere else. And then they catch the guru by diksha and say, okay, you're mine now. So these things are going on. And then, Prabhupada says that it's a risk that sometimes especially in a preaching mission, there are all kinds of people with all kinds of motives. Chatur vida bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna arto jignasa artarti jnanicha bharatarshava. Who knows what the inner motives are? One thing is that in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatana Goswami compiled in the first few chapters, what is the relationship between guru and disciple, and how it takes place, what is the standard process for initiation, and so forth. And in that he says that for a year, at least a year, in another place he quotes 3 years, that the guru and disciple should observe one another and see that they're qualified and that there's a relationship. And the spiritual master should see that the disciple is really interested in inquiring and advancing in spiritual life. It's not for some other reason. And the disciple should be also very sure that what is a spiritual master, and that this is a spiritual master because he or she is actually following the Shastra and following the Acharya and so forth, and is in a liberated stage of life because of Shabde Paresha Nishnatam Brahman Upashramashrayam. These qualifications are that the person must have taken a dip in the ocean of transcendental knowledge and also be situated in Brahman. That is, he or she doesn't have any other interest in life, not interested in field hockey or some other topic, some other hobby, and devotional service is among those hobbies or interests or something like that. But fully absorbed, that's the one focus. And so when that mutual observation takes place, then there can be, that's risk management. There can be a high degree of certainty that this person will succeed, most likely to succeed. We used to have that in our high school yearbooks. There's always a category for most likely to succeed. Because the person had certain qualities and habits and said, this guy's going to really make it. Surprised when you go back at the high school reunion 10 years later. What happened to him? Oh, became a bank robber. Well, it's a material nature. Anything can happen. But it's a risk. Risk means danger. Risk means there's a danger. And in a big preaching movement where the bias is towards grabbing everybody, that's Lord Chaitanya's movement. Vage va na mage, patra va apatra. There's Lord Chaitanya was simply begging everyone, take it, take it, take it, take it. And he didn't consider who was a fit candidate or unfit candidate. He just took everybody. And Prabhupada says that the Vedic system of initiation is that you have to vet everybody completely, and they have to grow up in a Brahmin family and in the Gurukul and go through this whole process. But in the Pancharatrak system, we're looking for the slightest qualification. And when you see the slightest qualification, then grab them. grab them, bring them in, somehow or other figure out how to bring them up to the standard. And we have faith that it is altogether possible. And Prabhupada did this. You can see in the early days when Jayananda first walked in, Jim, he was driving cab and he had started reading the books and he had faith. And he started coming by the temple, which is now a laundromat down by Kezar Stadium. You can go by and see that original temple. It's still there. And he walked in. Yeah, we can go on a tour. Yeah, the guy that owns the place is a little, I don't know. When we step in there, he goes, "What are you doing in here? We don't want go out." Anyway, when Jayananda first started coming, Jim driving his cab, he came by. A couple weeks later, Prabhupada gave him initiation. A couple weeks later, and so forth. There and in the first initiations, Prabhupada, invited everyone up to his room, and someone would say, "Can he get in too?" So and they didn't even know all the principles yet. Prabhupada didn't tell them all that stuff. He just said, "Sit down." And there was a transformation that took place gradually under the principle yena tena prakarena Krishna manam niveshayat. Somehow or other in the beginning, get everyone in and let them think of Krishna. Let them start hearing, because we know the medicine's so potent. This will cure him. This will cure him. But there is a way in which people change their minds. People can fall down at any time. Even advanced devotees can fall down. And we'll hear some quotes from Prabhupada about that. And so there's always some sort of a risk that's going on, and more about that. I'll read the next quote. This quote is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 21st verse, 21st chapter, 31st verse. Prabhupada says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore stated that the spiritual master who plays the part of Krishna's representative, I'll read that again. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore stated that the spiritual master who plays the part of Krishna's representative has to consume all the sinful reactions of his disciple. Sometimes the spiritual master takes the risk of being overwhelmed by the sinful reactions of the disciples and undergoes a sort of tribulation due to their acceptance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised that one not accept many disciples. So there's a risk there also, that in accepting a disciple, that you take on the sinful reactions. It sounds like like a download of information from a thumb disk or something like that. Just look it up, and all of a sudden you're full of these extra sinful reactions or something like that. There's a practical aspect of it too. When you become involved in somebody's life, you have to worry about them. If you have a kid, you have to worry about the kid for 16, 25, 36. I saw my parents, they worried about their kids till the second they left their bodies. They don't stop worrying about them. And that's a kind of guru-disciple relationship. Every kind of relationship where you take responsibility for somebody, all of a sudden, their worries, guess what, become your worries. and that takes a toll. That's a risk. And so how many can you handle? How many kids could you raise? Do you want to raise? And so forth. There's a risk in all that. And also there is a transfer of karma, which takes place. This is mentioned in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, that just as a king takes on a part of the pious and impious activities of the citizens, so similarly the guru also accepts these kinds of reactions that come from the disciple. However, if one is fully situated in devotional service, then of course Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja aham tong sarva papibhyo mokshayishami masuchaha. Ultimately, Krishna is absorbing all that, but this requires constant vigilance. Then Prabhupada says in Madhya Lila 22:118, accepting an unlimited number of devotees or disciples is very risky for one who is not a preacher. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, a preacher has to accept many disciples to expand the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is risky because when a spiritual master accepts a disciple, he naturally accepts the disciple's sinful activities and their reactions. Unless he is very powerful, he cannot assimilate all the sinful reactions of his disciples and has to suffer the consequences. Therefore, one is generally forbidden to accept many disciples. Now, what is many disciples? Prabhupada took 5,000 and, one may be too many for somebody. And in a conversation, Prabhupada, in a morning walk conversation that's going on, Prabhupada says, yes, but they are devotees. He's talking about the demigods, but Tamal Krishna, but they are devotees, not fallen. Prabhupada says, they can fall. Everyone can fall. And then Tripurari says that a sannyasi should not be anxious for disciples, but should only take those who are qualified. But sometimes, when there's no one qualified, he takes a risk. Prabhupada, yes. One who does not like to take the risk, they do not take the risk of preaching. But one who takes the risk, he is recognized by Krishna immediately. Oh, he is taking a risk. But he must know where to take risk and where he's acting foolishly. Just like Nityananda Prabhu took the risk of being injured, but he was certain that I can deliver him. So this is a very important point, because we have to perform this risk management also in performing our devotional service. First of all, we can't do less than we're capable of, because then we won't advance, and we also won't get Krishna's mercy. No guts, no glory. And if you try to do more than you're qualified for, then you can fall down. That's a fact. And someone who takes on the service of representing Lord Chaitanya as a spiritual master can fall down, and have fallen down, because of taking too much risk and not being careful. And we'll get to that in a minute. It's not because the position of spiritual master means you can't fall down. And this is the supposition of some people. They say spiritual master means impossible to fall down. You can't fall down. And therefore Prabhupada's the only spiritual master. And obviously he can't fall down, because, only a living spiritual master could fall down. The logic is that Prabhupada's the only spiritual master. It's sort of circular reasoning, but why would it be a risk to take on the responsibility of taking others as disciples? Risk means danger. And Prabhupada says it over and over again, that it's a risk. It's a risk. It's a risk. And what does risk mean? It means anything can happen. And therefore you have to manage risk. You have to be careful. So the conversation goes on. Tamal Krishna. You took a great risk also, Prabhupada, by coming to us. Prabhupada laughs. Yes, I have already written that. I was thinking that, what shall I do here? I have come here. As soon as I shall impose these 4 principles, they will say, go home. But I took that risk. I never said anything palatable against their activities. You can't do this, don't do this. So also, this is another kind of calculation that we make all the time. It goes on constantly thinking, how much should we present to the public? And there's this argument sometimes, like, if you preach too directly, you'll just scare away everybody. And therefore, we should scale it down, scale it down. How much do you want to scale it down? Rabindra Sarup Prabhu said in one class, he said, for years I was having this conversation with other devotees about how to take Krishna out of Krishna consciousness. And then he said, I decided one day, we'll just leave him in and see what happens. But it's a risk. Every time you distribute a book and you say, Hari, this is Hari Krishna, or you just present it as it is, you're risking that particular interaction. What's going to happen? You could take safe route and hedge everything and don't say much about anything. Or you can be bold and present. And where's the balance? How do you manage that? To present Krishna consciousness in a way that people will take it, but without and also not compromising. Prabhupada, Tamal Krishnamurti says, it's hard because some of these are fragments because it's a conversation. But Prabhupada said, no, what is the use of compromise if there's no good result? Tamal Krishna, someone who compromises, he actually wants followers. Prabhupada, that is not good. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decried, nadanam najanam, I don't want these followers. What is the use of follower if he does not follow? Okay, so the next one is from the CC 24:330. Prabhupada said a spiritual master should be very anxious to accept a disciple. A spiritual master should not be very anxious to accept a disciple because of his material opulences. Sometimes a big businessman or landlord may approach a spiritual master for initiation. Those who are materially interested are called Vishayis, which indicates that they are very fond of sense gratification. Such Vishayis sometimes approach a famous guru and ask to become a disciple just as a matter of fashion. And we know the story of Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, at least we heard it, that there was one very rich man from Calcutta. He had everything, so he thought, what don't I have? I don't have a guru. So let me get a guru. So Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj was famous, and he thought, I'll go get that one. That's the one that will really make me look good. And I'll just tell everyone when I get back to, it's Gorkishore. That's my guru. And so he went there to offer him something in exchange for this deal, And so he went out to the field where Gorkishore was chanting incessantly. And he said, so Maharaj, I want to be your servant. I want you to be my guru. And I'm willing to offer you anything. And he was thinking, what could he need? He's out here in a field, maybe I'll build him a little house or something, that's nothing. Won't even touch my bottom line. And so Maharaj looked at him and he said, so the only thing I ask, you stay here and don't go home. Stay with me, don't leave. And immediately he got up and ran away. And this is we're looking for the essence of surrender. Actually, someone may have all kinds of bad qualities, but if they have this one quality that they actually surrender to Krishna in their heart, that they accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's their goal of life, even if they're riddled with material bad habits. If they have this one quality, that this is the most important thing. This is what we're looking for. That's the real fragrance of the spiritual world, the surrender to Krishna in the heart. And therefore, Rupa Goswami names the different qualities of the Vaishnava. He said the most important one is that their surrender to Krishna. But if someone has an ill motivation performing devotional service, it will come out eventually. We were talking about this last night with Nirkula. We were having this discussion about how if you just hold steady on the basic principle of surrender to Krishna, and you enact that in all the aspects of your life to the best of your ability, whatever you can do now, and you do it behind closed doors, you do it whenever wherever you go, that's who you are. And even though you may be the lowest person on the totem pole, so to speak, doesn't matter, because eventually it always comes out. Cream rises to the top. And the real cream, the essence is to be a saragrahi, to be really surrendered to Krishna. And to have that mood that I'm simply Krishna's servant, and to always be warding off the mist and fog of false ego and bad intentions. And if someone has some wrong intention and then takes more and more responsibility, then there's a weakness. Just like in a constructed building, you can have a big, huge building, but if there is a mistake in the construction and in the ground floor, there was some counterfeit cement, which you can buy in India sometimes. The counterfeit cement. They sell you what's real cement, but actually it wasn't created properly. Or also, there are these counterfeit bolts that were being sold all over the world for many years. They're coming from China, I think. And they're fake bolts. They're supposed to hold a certain amount of weight. And guess what? A lot of the airlines bought those back in the old days. Who knows where they are? But they'll snap under pressure. They won't hold. And so if someone has the fault of a ulterior motive, this is like one of those counterfeit bolts. And then if you build up all kinds of responsibility and take on these things, and if you have that ill motivation, then eventually it will snap, and you'll have to come back to your own level. And so we look at a person's devotional life not in the terms of a few years or even a couple of decades, but we look at the whole lifetime. How did they go through their life? And it wasn't necessarily that they had a perfect record, but they recovered even from slipping at a certain point. They slipped, but they got back up again. That proves something. And Krishna says that someone who does that, api chet sudaracharo, bhajate mama nanyapak. Even if it looks really bad, what happened? They get back up again and they continue on with their devotional service with the intention, I'm going to surrender even though I'm the lowest of the low and I have all these bad habits. I'm going to surrender to Krishna. I'll make it. Tarasaya paratmanishtam adyasitam purvatamar maharshibi aham tarishami durantapadam tamo mukundangri nasheva yaiva. I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of material existence by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. This was approved by the previous acharyas who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that inner determination must be there. The motivation must be that I'm going to surrender to Krishna. Now, if a spiritual master or anybody else tries to gain from performing devotional service materially, they'll be tricked. And they'll get the false thing. They won't get the real gold. They'll get fool's gold. So such Vishayas sometimes approach a famous guru and ask to become a disciple just as a matter of fashion. Sometimes Vishayas pose as disciples of a reputed spiritual master just to cover their activities and advertise themselves as advanced in spiritual knowledge. In other words, they want to attain material success. A spiritual master must be very careful in this regard. Such business is going on all over the world. The spiritual master does not accept a materially opulent disciple just to advertise the fact that he has a big disciple. He knows that by associating with such Vishayi disciples, he may fall down. One who accepts a Vishayi disciple is not a bona fide spiritual master. Even if he is, his position may be damaged due to association with an unscrupulous Vishayi. If a so-called spiritual master accepts a disciple for his personal benefit or for material gain, the relationship between the spiritual master and disciple turns into a material affair, and the spiritual master becomes like a smarta guru. Then, next is from the C.C. Adi, 1731. Now comes into the how to protect oneself. There's a couple aspects of this. Protecting yourself from risk. 2 points. One is humility and the other is caution. And the two go together very well, because if you're not humble, you'd start thinking like, I can do anything. This is a problem, because you can't. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy names of the Lord. That means your devotional service won't be impeded if you keep yourself down. Keep your head down. And stick to your service and be humble and just be grateful for what you have, so you don't have to be smacked upside the head. Purport: the grass is specifically mentioned in this verse, and if you are smacked upside the head, you should accept it as a reward of the master. And this, Prabhupada says exactly in that language, is the qualification for advancing devotional service. Those who can accept punishment as a reward, they will make advancement in devotional service. The grass is specifically mentioned in this verse because everyone tramples on it, yet the grass never protests. This example indicates that a spiritual master or leader should not be proud of his position. Being always humbler than an ordinary common man, he should go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. How humble should he be? Always humbler than who? An ordinary common man. He says here, being always humbler than an ordinary common man. So if I start thinking like, I'm not an ordinary common man, I'm above ordinary, I'm uncommon, and so forth, these are the enemies. And this, you start getting into the risk range. If you go and you look at your insurance, your spiritual assurance adjuster, he'll say, you're at a high risk here. At any time, you can be vanquished because you think you're better than an ordinary common man. But if you keep yourself down and you say, I'm no better than an ordinary common man, I'm simply the servant of the servant of the servant, then your risk factor goes down. Always a risk. Risk means danger. Taking a dangerous occupation. So lower your risk factor. Feel yourself lower than an ordinary common man. Not uncommon. I'm lower than ordinary. Doesn't mean you should act like that. It just means you should feel like that. And then finally, Prabhupada says, and this is one of the very philosophical verses which can start a whole big discussion, but it's very important to understand. This is from the 3rd canto, 26th chapter, 23rd verse. The material ego springs up from the Mahatattva, which evolved from the Lord's own energy. The material ego is endowed predominantly with active power of 3 kinds: good, passion, and ignorant. It is from these 3 types of material ego that the mind, the senses of perception, the organs of action, and the gross elements evolve. Purport. In the beginning, from clear consciousness or the pure state of Krishna consciousness, the first contamination sprung up. That is called false ego, or identification of the body as self. The living entity exists in the natural state of Krishna consciousness, but he has marginal independence, and this allows him to forget Krishna. Originally, pure Krishna consciousness exists, but because of misuse of marginal independence, there is a chance of forgetting Krishna. This is exhibited in actual life. There are many instances in which someone acting in Krishna consciousness suddenly changes. In the Upanishads, it is stated, therefore, that the path of spiritual realization is just like the sharp edge of a razor. The example is very appropriate. One shaves his cheeks with a sharp razor very nicely, but as soon as his attention is diverted from the activity, he immediately cuts his cheek because he mishandles the razor. Not only must one come to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness, but one must also be very careful. Any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. I'll read it again. Not only must one come to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness, but one must also be very careful. Any inattentiveness or carelessness may cause fall down. This fall down is due to false ego. From the status of pure consciousness, the false ego is born because of misuse of independence. We cannot argue about why false ego arises from pure consciousness. So don't even try it. Factually, there is always the chance that this will happen, and therefore one has to be very careful. False ego is the basic principle for all material activities which are executed in the modes of material nature. As soon as one deviates from pure Krishna consciousness, he increases his entanglement in material reaction. The entanglement of materialism is the material mind, and from this material mind, the senses and material organs become manifest. So herein lies the second law of risk management in devotional service, and that is caution. The first one is humility. Humility means showing a modest or low estimation of one's own importance. It doesn't mean that you have to let people walk all over you, but you have to do your duty. That's another thing. Sometimes people say, if I'm humble and I go to work, then I'll just be stepped on and I won't get anywhere. But it doesn't mean that. It means that you have a low estimation of your own importance. And that means you have a high estimation of Krishna's importance and of the mission of your spiritual master, and you take that as your life and soul. And your own importance, your own intelligence, your own ability to figure out through independent thought how to move in the world, you don't consider that very important. That's humility. So you must have humility to lower your risk profile in devotional service. The higher your level of humility, the lower your risk of falling from pure consciousness goes. And also, you must be cautious. What does that mean? What does cautiousness mean? It means you have to be vigilant at all times. Don't let Maya have an inch, because she'll take a mile. She's like the salesperson who comes to your door and says, just open a crack. I just want to tell you one thing. And next thing you know, you bought a vacuum cleaner for $2,000, and you already had one, and you didn't need it. And then your wife comes home, and then you're really in trouble. So, caution. Caution means to be vigilant, all the time vigilant. Don't think that you're above it. This is another thing Prabhupada points out. He said, in the face of Maya, in the glare of Maya, don't think, I'm a devotee. I'm a Paramahamsa. I'm immune to this. You'll be burned. You'll be burned. Prabhupada used to have a separate kitchen in his room up in Los Angeles. A little in the closet, a little burner in there so his servant could serve him. Because every time he had a brahmachari and he let him into the kitchen and he started associating with the women in there, next thing he'd come up and go, Prabhupada, I want to get married now. Prabhupada said, move the kitchen upstairs. And risk management. You have to be careful. How are you going to walk? Where are you going to walk? Where are you going to look? Jayato vishayan pumsam, sangasteshu pajayate. You study that verse. It says when you contemplate the objects of the senses, you're going to go there. You'll be there. You'll be part of it. It'll attach itself to you like glue. And you're going to take years and years of contemplation, of endeavor to get it loose again. Don't start it in the first place. Be careful. Be careful how you attach yourself to the material world. You look at something and you think, oh, that's nice. That would look good on me. And next thing you know, you're walking around with it shadowing you for the next 2 years, thinking, if I could have had that, if I could have had that. That's how sticky the material world is. So devotees are humble and they're careful. And this is what lowers your risk of falling from the position of devotional service. And especially if you're taking responsibility, you must have these qualities all the time. All the time they have to be there. The second that pride rears its head, you'll be smashed. And when you're not careful, it's a bad example for others. Even if you were above it, even if you are above it, you should set the example for others by being careful. One devotee tells a story about how Prabhupada, after an engagement, it was in Europe, and they were standing outside a restaurant waiting for the ride to come. And so the devotee was concerned. Prabhupada was having to stand there, and it was maybe strenuous for some time. And he said, Prabhupada, could you like to sit down here? And Prabhupada looked over and said, what is that place where the seats were? And he said, oh, it's a restaurant. And Prabhupada said, I cannot sit there. I cannot sit there. Because how would it look? And and that this is caution, being very careful where you sit, how you speak, what comes out of your mouth. These things can come back to and will come back to bite you if you're not careful. So be careful, be humble, lower your risk profile in devotional service. Hare Krishna. Questions or comments? Yes.
Prabhu, I have a question. You give the story of businessman and Gaur Kishore Das Maharaj, Babaji Maharaj. So, in that case, if one is don't have any motive to get guru, but is go to ask guru about the initiation, but same time he never thought about surrendering or stay there for a while, for lifetime. So what is criteria? It's if you go and ask initiations for the guru, you should also be prepared. If guru asks to stay there, then you have to stay.
Yeah, it's a risk. We surrender to Krishna, and then he might ask us, do this or that, and it really depends. But it's it's not like a computer game or something like that where you hit the wrong button and then you're finished, or you have to start over. But it's a relationship, and that's why relationship with guru is personal. You have to have a personal relationship because the guru should be able to engage a disciple properly. You have to be able to see that what can this person handle. Not simply just, every single person is like, okay, surrender, stay here. This was a specific case, with Gorky Shordas Babaji Maharaj and this man who was obviously a charlatan. But there's a way in which there's a person who's expert in engaging others should see what is their capability and engage them accordingly. And part of the examination period for choosing a guru, there's a year or 3 years or more to see that, there's a compatible relationship here. It should be goodwill on both sides, that I want this person to advance, and the other person's thinking, how will I properly engage in service? And of course there has to be an adjustment and ready to surrender. We have to be ready to surrender. And that's what that story points out. We shouldn't go there with, no intention of surrender, because then it'll just be a farce. But at the same time, we should trust the fact and understand that there's a way in which a proper guide will guide you in a way that you can handle it and adjust it if it's not working. Hansapriya? Hold it. Keep that one up here. Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, you mentioned one of the point I really liked was the inquirer. The inquirer can be a full-time job. And would you please elaborate a little bit more on it, to inquire what really matters the most? Because I think that helps to reduce quite a bit of risk factor.
Well, Krishna said it to Brahma. It's the original Bhagavatam. Etavad eva jignasam tattva jignasanatmanaha anvaya vyatarikyabhyam yatsyat sarvata sarvada. He said, one should inquire in all times, in all places, in all circumstances. It means your whole life should be geared around inquiring about Krishna. What does that mean? You want to hear. You want to hear because you have faith in the Shastra. You know that that's taking you back to Godhead. You know that that's the real thing. And therefore, the rest of your activities in your life, what you have to get done is simply going on so you can come to this point. Now I have my time that I can hear, and I can actually perform devotional service. The other activities of our life are not meant to be the focal point. They're meant to be, we're doing them out of necessity. And as our capacity to hear grows, tavat karmana kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanado va shravan. Okay, it's in the shloka book. You can look at it. Tavat kurvita, tavat karmana kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanado va shadayavan najayate, something like that. Krishna says, 278, that as long as you don't have full faith in hearing and chanting and performing the 9 processes of devotional service, then you go on with all your other activities. And to the degree that you develop that faith, then your life becomes out of necessity. Hearing and inquiring becomes a necessity, becomes the mainstay of your life. You can't imagine doing anything else, and whatever else you have to do is minimized so that you can increase that. And that should be the progress in our life. How does the verse go? Tavat karmana kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkata shravanadava shraddha yava najayate. So as long as one has not awakened full faith, you have to go on doing all these other balanced rules and regulations in the material world. But the ultimate goal is to come to this point of having full attention on Krishna. This means tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shotavya kirtitavyascha dhyeya pujascha nityada. So this is Sutta Goswami, and he says, with one pointed attention. What does that mean? Like the arrow maker. The king comes through town with a big band and all the jugglers and everyone, swallowing flames and everything like that. And someone comes an hour later and said, "Did you see the king?" He said, "What king?" He was making his arrow so straight that he had no comprehension of any distraction. He was fully focused. And in the same way, tasmad ekena manasa, the mind has one pointed attention. Bhagavan sattvatam pati. And it's nice. This is the sattvatam means the devotees. The pati, who's the husband of the devotees? It's Krishna. And therein lies this point about protection. The husband's protecting, and he say he's the pati, so we're taking full shelter of him. We don't have to worry about so many other things, because we realize the more I simply do this one thing, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Suridhanishchoy Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy, all the other things are done automatically. And so we have to cultivate that, and it's cultivatable. It's altogether possible, because that's our main interest in life. I'm only interested in other things because they're reflections of the real thing. And once I realize that those are just reflection, the real thing is somewhere else, I become genuinely interested in it. Genuinely interested in it. Yes.
Dandavats, Prabhuji. I think you were talking about when we are chanting, there are so many other thoughts which come, the material problems, and our attitude should be, if those things will be taken care of. Did I hear it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So would it be a contradiction to one of the offenses that is mentioned while chanting, that having material attachments while chanting, even after hearing so many things on the subject matter, right? So I was thinking, would that be even the fact that we are hoping that those material things will be taken care of, would it be an offense against the holy name?
No, not an offense. This is actually the devotee. The context is the devotee realizes there may be so many necessities, but my prime necessity is to take shelter of Krishna. He is the protector. He's my maintainer. Therefore, I won't worry about these things, at least not while I'm chanting. At least for that time, take that opportunity to just take shelter of Krishna. Practice. See what it feels like. And miraculously, Krishna takes away those anxieties. And it's not a sin to have desires. It's a sin to be attached to them. That's the offense. The offense is to maintain them. The desires enter like rivers into the ocean. The ocean's not disturbed. So as long as one has a material body and mind, there are going to be influences that enter. But the devotee disconnects from those because he's connected on a different level. He can even see them, but he doesn't identify with them. So they're there, but he's not attached to them. But if you're a kami, it means you become implicated, because you identify with the desires and you think, I have to maintain them, they're mine. And your lifestyle degrades because now you're emboldened to these things. You have to maintain them. You have to stand up for them even, which is even more unseemly. You stand up for the material world and your material desires that you're harboring. That doesn't look good. So, we must cultivate this attachment to Krishna, and we must cultivate attachment to desires to serve Krishna, and then distinguish between those and those desires which are actually superfluous. Because in the watering process, both the weeds and the creeper grows. I was just noticing this the other day. Some nice spring rain came, and I just finished weeding my whole garden. And I was thinking, okay, here we go again. They're going to come up now because there's seeds everywhere. And as soon as it rains, I was thinking all the plants I want are just loving it. But all the other plants, they're going to say, okay, here we come. And when you water, everything grows. So you also, this is one of the points, you have to be vigilant. Not only must one come to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness, but one must also be careful. Careful means you must weed. And you also have to carefully study what's a weed and what's actually a creeper. Am I taking too much time? Do we have to pack and stuff? No. Okay. Nothing. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, and the number, some are already texting in. I don't know how they got the number, but the number to text in is 650-245-7018. We welcome all our online listeners today. Thank you very much. We're so glad you're there. Just so you know, in a couple of weeks, we're moving into our new temple where I hear there's more wires in that one temple than in all of Silicon Valley put together. Because we had asked for a pucka sound studio, like the new temple is going to be like a movie set for broadcasting out. So we're trying to connect to more and more devotees around the world. But if you want to text in a question, 650-245-7018.
This is Pratibha Mataji from Sacramento, and she's saying thanks for a wonderful class. And your statement that the slightest qualification is what our movement is looking for is very, very encouraging. Some days are so discouraging, even in our endeavor to better our spiritual life, but these words keep enthusiasm and patience going full throttle. Thank you.
What a nice comment, and thanks for joining, Pratibha Mataji. We read it in a verse earlier in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, where Brahma's saying, so you already benedicted Putana because she came dressed up as your mother, and you gave her position mother. Now what are you going to give to the residents of Vrindavan? We're completely surrendered. What more do you have to give? And this is Krishna's nature. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandho Jagatpate. He's the friend of the fallen, and he's an ocean of mercy. That's good news, really good news. And so he takes the slightest qualification of a person and he augments it. And the devotees are even more so. And this is shown in the story when Kala Krishnadas, who was Lord Chaitanya's assistant in traveling through South India, he fell down in the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by becoming attracted to some Bhattaharis. They're these like kind of nomadic tribes that they would attract people with women and get them into their camp. So he fell for it. He was a Brahmin. He was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he went there. And Mahaprabhu went to their camp. He grabbed his servant by the hair and pulled him back. And even those Bhattaharis, they tried to attack Mahaprabhu, which was a mistake because their weapons fell on themselves. But when Mahaprabhu got back to Jagannath Puri, he called in Kala Krishnadas and he said, before some of the other devotees, just see the character of this person. He came to serve me, and he left right in the middle. I had to go grab him and pull him back. I said, I have no more service for him. And Kala Krishnadas began crying. I mean, what is to be rejected by Mahaprabhu? And then the devotees conspired. They got together and said, let's do something for him. We got to keep him in. And they came up with this plan that they would send Kala Krishnadas all the way back to Navadvip to announce that Mahaprabhu had just returned from South India. And that was a big service because he would be like a hero. You know, the messenger gets all the accolades also. And so they went to Mahaprabhu and said, we need somebody to go back to Navadvip to announce that you've come here. Can we send? And Mahaprabhu, knew what they were thinking. They didn't say exactly who. And he said, yes, do as you wish. So they sent, go, you go. So they kept him in. So this is the mercy of the devotees. They're always looking, even somebody who falls out of the grace of the holy name, the devotees, they go and they try to bring them back and say, chant, just chant. And no matter what situation you're in, this should be our mood. This is the mood of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. We should always be looking for the smallest qualification that someone has and then fan it. We call this fan the spark. It's the fan the spark principle. Find a spark and then fan it. And if you live your life like that, always looking for the qualification, that you'll be encouraged yourself, because Krishna will encourage you, because that's the work, that's his actual intention for the material world, is to bring everybody up. Yes.
So we talked about the modes of material nature quite a few times. I mean, in this lecture, right? Is it devotee constantly under the influence of these three modes, or like the more he advances, he gets immune to those modes?
To the degree that we advance, to that degree we're unaffected by the three modes of material nature. So one must become completely free from the contamination of the modes of material nature. We do that by performing devotional service. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityai tan brahmabhuyaya kalpate. One who's constantly engaged in service rises above the three modes of material nature. And there is a description by Kapiladev, which we recited in this similar class a couple months ago, about devotional service in the three modes of material nature. One may be affected by the mode of ignorance and still go on performing devotional service. But that's devotional service tinged by ignorance. It may also be affected by passion. It may be affected by goodness. But then there's transcendental devotional service beyond the three modes of material nature. And step by step, as one continues the process, one will rise to this position of being completely unencumbered by the modes of material nature. No more tinge. This is pure devotional service, and that's our aspiration. Hare Krishna. SKP, and then Sundarananda.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You told in the class, like, don't think I am above it. Means the pride which creeps into our heart, like it works in the Sankirtan, that like as soon as I knock the door and they took a set or some book, or like I feel, oh, I done it. Then next 10 houses, nobody takes it. So means then we are not the doer. Like, as soon as we think I'm giving book and they are taking, I am the like doer, then it doesn't work out in that way. So I personally felt that like we are not the controller. Thank you.
That's why Sankirtan is such a nice service. You get instant feedback from your environment. It's very helpful because you have to fine tune in order to walk that fine line. You have to be confident, you have to present, but at the same time you have to, fully depend on Krishna and be very humble. That and when you're not, that subtle change, then you'll be smashed. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Sundar.
Prabhu, first of all, thank you for the wonderful class. It has so many nice instructions. That personally I would like to take it to my heart and follow. I had a question regarding initially when you started the lecture with how Krishna is a protector, and you gave the example of the devotees in Vrindavan. And for me personally, I think it's easy for me to accept it for my own sake, but when it comes to my family, I somehow become overly protective than even if I would protect myself in such a situation. So how to handle such a...
That's explained by Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad says in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, Balasyaneha sharanam pitaro nrsimha nartasya chagadam udanbati majato no taptasya tat pratividir yayihanjasheshtas tavad bibo tanubritam twarupekshitanam. So upeksha means indifference. And he says, my Lord, if you're indifferent to somebody, nobody can help him. And therefore he concludes that the parents cannot really protect their children. And medicine cannot really protect a patient. And a boat on water can't protect a drowning man. If the Lord doesn't get involved. If he doesn't sanction it, it won't happen. So then Prabhupada discusses in the purport, what does this mean? Does it mean that we don't care for our children? We don't do the best we can? If we see a man drowning on the water, do we just say, well, the boat won't do it, God will do it? No, we have to make the endeavor, but we must always be aware, fully conscious that Krishna has to bless it. And that will give you relief, because although you do your due diligence, you do the best you can. And the best you can is dependent on Krishna's mercy, because you can't move your arms, your legs, or anything. You can't even transfer funds from one place to another unless Krishna sanctions it. It all has to work. And it's a miracle that anything works, and that miracle is coming from Krishna. So we should be aware of the fact that, yes, I do my due diligence to protect, but don't be overcome by it. And you can resist being overcome by it by remembering that actually Krishna is the one who's sanctioning. Okay? All right. Yes.
So, Prabhu, I'm wondering, what does this taking risk translate to me, or a neophyte devotee?
What is it? You mean
taking risks for Krishna?
Preaching? Taking risks for Krishna?
Yeah.
Well, it means that you find out what the next step is and you try to take it. Just like when you're climbing a ladder, it's a risk. Every step is a risk, but you have to look at the next rung in the ladder and say, you analyze it and you say, okay, it's higher than the other one. I could just stay where I am on the rung that I'm on now, but I'm going to move up to the next rung. And you make your best calculation possible that, okay, if I move my leg, it worked the last time, and I didn't slip off, I didn't fall into the abyss. Now I'm going to move up. I'm going to take the next step. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this example. He says that we have to move up. Because if you don't move up and just say no risk, I'll just let Prabhupada take all the risk. I'll let Jesus Christ take all the risk. He take all the risk, and I won't do anything. I'm a lowly person. I'm unqualified. That's bogus. You have to become qualified. You're also part and parcel of Krishna. You're supposed to become qualified. Otherwise, Prabhupada said, you're a rascal. He said, if you don't become guru, then you're a rascal. Lord Chaitanya ordered everyone, become guru. Amaragnaya guru hanataradesh. I order you, become guru. That means you have to improve. To improve, you have to take the next step. You have to say, what is the next step? You take the calculation and you move up to the next point. And, there's risk management involved. You have to look at it and say, does it work? And then there's a leap of faith that you have to say, I'm going to go for it, based on this understanding that Krishna will protect me. And if you try to go too fast, however, then there's a possibility you can slip. So it's risk management. You have to calculate it and move forward. Okay, yes? Another text just came in, so after Sundar.
Just to add to that point, Prabhu,
Yes.
that risk can be taken in consultation with devotees, senior devotees.
Yes. To get your risk management consultants together. Yeah, you should definitely do it every step. Look at Prabhupada. Before he took sannyas, he went and asked a bunch of people. It wasn't that all of a sudden it came in a flash and he said, I'm going to be a sannyasi. It doesn't work like that. He had dreams, and he was looking at those dreams and he's seeing his spiritual master coming in his dreams saying, come with me, take sannyas. And Prabhupada's reaction, he said, I was horrified. How am I going to make this step? And then he went to other godbrothers and he said, I'm a vanaprastha now. I'm getting this, indication I should take sannyas. Should I do it? How should I do it? And they gave him different advice. He weighed all the advice and then he acted. So you have to analyze. And that's why Prabhupada said you have to be independently thoughtful. It's not some robotic performance. It's actually, you have to get feedback from Krishna in your heart. Look at Madhavendra Puri, the way he did his devotional service. He was getting feedback from Krishna at every step. And then, how to move to the next stage, where to make his offerings and so forth. So we have to do that carefully. And the text just came in? After this text.
So this is Jim Prabhu from San Diego.
Arjun.
Jim.
Oh, Jim. Hare Krishna, Jim. Thanks for checking in.
So he says, thank you for the class. My wife and I were talking about the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and she asked about avoiding sense objects. I told her that it isn't the sense objects we are trying to avoid, since we can't. It's attachment to sense objects that we need to avoid. Then today you were saying the same thing in the class. Jai.
Hare Krishna. Good. Confirmed. Okay, Sukeshwari, did you have a...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have a question followed to what Prabhuji was asking. How do we differentiate between endeavor and over-endeavor when we are trying to do something?
How do you separate what's
how do we distinguish
endeavor
between
and over-endeavor?
And where do we stop?
What is you have to analyze it and see. Because you have to take various factors into consideration. There's shreyas and preyas. There's a long-term and there's short-term benefit. And for instance, if you decide you're going to stay up all night every night to perform some Herculean task, then you may you may then have to sleep all day the next day and the next week and so forth, and you realize that, so you have to calculate it in. So it's something that's taken in a balanced way in consultation with your own mind and intelligence and with other devotees and so forth about what's over and ever. And you should have guidance about all these things. Devamrita Swami points out that bhakti means guidance. We're always taking guidance. Why should we be without guidance? I mean, material world sort of like, we take our own guidance because we want to ignore Krishna's instruction. But Krishna has given us a plethora of instructions, and there's so many instructions that are all congruent, that all fit together. And if we cultivate all those, we can understand how to work, how to not over-endeavor, how to work properly in devotional service and so forth.
Thank
So
you.
take good guidance.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. We have to do the Guru Puja. And yes? You want to ask a question?
Okay. I'm interested because I'm making a very deep study of the Krishna conscious literature given by Srila Prabhupada. I'm wondering what I find that he has a different this same sannyas guru is different guru than Bhakti Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and he accepted another sannyas guru. Is that something that is traditional to the Gaudiya Vaishnava line, that one would accept sannyas guru is different than, say, guru who has given Harinam
His
initiation?
guru had already left.
Oh, I see.
That's why he accepted sannyas. But yes, under different circumstances, one may accept a different sannyas guru. But in Prabhupada's case, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had already left, so there was no question of it. Otherwise, he would have taken from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta.
Okay, that's my only question. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone online. Thank you, everyone in-house. Vrindavan? What's your question?
Thank you for the nice class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so now we're going to have a Guru Puja, and thank you for being so attentive in class today. We'll put away all the books, and we'll have a Guru Puja for Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Namasheshtam manamati shatiputra matra sarupam rupam tasya gajama ruparim maturim goshavatim radha kundam girivaramoho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya pratita kripaya shri gurum tam natosmi Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Kati Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mue Savadana Mate Jahara Prashade Bhai Bhavato Riyaja Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Shite Te Koriya Aikya Nakori Ho Mani Asha Arnakori Ho Mani Asha Shri Guru Charani Rati Eshayu Tamagati Shri Guru Charani Rati Eshayu Tamagati Jai Prashade Pure Sarva Asha Jai Prashade Pure Sarva Asha.
Can you fix Prabhupada's garland?
Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu she Chakudan dilo je janme janme Prabhu she Divya Gyan Hire Prokashito Divya Gyan Hire Prakashito Prema Bhakti Ja Hoite Avidya Vinasa Jate Prema Bhakti Ja Hoite Avidya Vinasa Jate Vidigai Jahara Charito Vidigai Jahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya. Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya. Ebe Jash Kushik Tribhuvana. Ebe Jash Kushik Tribhuvana. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyarishatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Kali kukur kadam jadi chao hai. Kali Juga Pavana Kali Boy Nashana Shri Sachinandana Gao Hai. Gadadhar Madhan Nitayer Pranadan Advaita Prabhujita Gaura Nimani Vishrambar Srinivashishwar Bhakta Samuha Chitta Chora Nariya Shashadar Mayapurishwar Nam Pravatana Shura Grihi Jana Shikshaka Nyasikula Nayaka Madhava Radha Bhava Pura Sarvabhauma Shodana Gajapati Tharana Ramananda Poshana Vira Rupananda Vardana Shanatana Palana Haridas Modhana Dhira Vrajadas Bhavana Dushamata Shatana Kapati Vighatana Kama Shuddha Bhakta Palana Shuksha Jnana Tharana Chala Bhakti Dushana Rama Kali Kukur Kadan Jadi Chao He Kali Juga Pavana Kuli Nashana Shishati Nandana Gao He Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Hare Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madan Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rup Sri Sanatan Bhatta Raguna Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raguna Echai Gosai Kori Charanam Vandan Jaha Hoite Vignanash Abhishta Puran Echai Gosai Jark Muitarda Tansabara Parariru Mora Panchagras Tandera Charana Sebe Bhakta Sanibar Janame Janame Hoye Abila Esai Gosai Jabe Braje Kulabas. Hey, Vrindavan. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash. Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan. Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majami Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Koriyas. Hari Nam Sankirtan Koi Narotamoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai, Gopal Jai Jai. Hey Radha Ramana Hare, Govinda Jai Jai. Radha Ramana Hare, Govinda Jai Jai. Bajare Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. Bhajare, Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Gopala, Radhe Gopala, Bhajare, Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. Bhajare, Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Gopala, Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Bank Bihari, Radha Landanishwara. Come on, where's the mic?
Radha Kunda Bihari,
Radha Giridhari,
Radha Kunda Bihari, Radha Govinda Madha,
Radha Nilhamada,
Radha Madan Bihari,
Radha Madan Bihari,
Radha Vrindavan Chandra,
Radha Vrindavan Chandra,
Shrimati Radhika,
Radha Natavar, Radha Natavar,
Radha Krishna,
Radha Krishna,
Radha Madhava,
Radha Madhava,
Radha Madan Mohan,
Radha Madan Mohan,
Kishore Kishori,
Kishore Kishore,
Radha Radha Natha,
Radha London Ishwara, Radha Giridhari,
Giridhari,
Kishore Kishori,
Kishore Kishore,
Radha Govind Madha, Rukmini Darukadish,
Rukmini Dwarkadish,
Radha Govinda Chandra,
Radha Vrindavan Chandra,
Radha Madan Gopal,
Radha Madan Moha,
Radha Nila Madhav,
Radha Kala Chandji,
Radha Kala, Radha Giridhari,
Radha Kanta,
Radha Bhajare, Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. Bhajare, Bhaja Govinda Gopala Hare. आशे श्री भगवान को मेरे बारंबार प्रणाम है, मेरे बारंबार आशे श्री ज्ञान श्याम को मेरे बारंबार प्रणाम है, श्याम को मेरे बारंबार प्रणाम है। Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shri Shrimad Bhai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavidin Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Zagaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopina Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Samabeta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Thank you everyone for coming out on a Saturday morning to advance your spiritual life. And today's Ekadashi. So Ekadashi is Harivasara, the day of Lord Hari. And anyone can feel free to spend as much time as they like on Ekadashi to hear and chant about Krishna. No one can stop you. And we also fast on this day. So there's various types of fasting. One is not taking anna, whatever that means to you. In Bengal it means rice. I mean, around the world. It's very confusing. People take various kinds of things on Ekadashi, others don't take. The only sure way is just don't take anything. And it's good for your body also to not eat on Ekadashi. Give it a rest. And then gives you more time too. You don't have to digest or eliminate or cook or buy anything. Just relax. And also we're in the process of moving, so it is a process apparently. It's not a one-time event, but we have boxes partly packed. The new temple is underway as far as the finishing touches go, and that's going to culminate on the Ram Navami celebration on Friday. When rain or shine, wires or dust, whatever it is, we're going in. But it'll be done by then. And today is also the day that we're beginning our marathon for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Actually, we're in the middle of Ram Navami. So that is to finish the entire Ramayana, which we're partway through now. It's been thrilling, hasn't it? Yes. Listening to these pastimes of Lord Ramachandra has been thrilling, and it's especially nice at night for some reason, because then the vibration goes in and it fortifies the heart, the mind, and the intelligence, and then you tend to be in a blissful mood when you wake up.
I wanted to say for anybody who doesn't know, I'm able to listen to Prabhu on my computer at night because I have so many responsibilities, and it's really nice. So if any of you folks can't show up and you want to listen to Prabhu, it's been really nice to be able to do my
broadcast.
To also continue to do my work and to hear your class at the same time without having to break my schedule.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much. And today's Sudeep daughter's birthday. Siddhi. Okay, we want blessings for Siddhi, Sudeep's daughter. Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna to you, Hare Krishna dear Siddhi, Hare Krishna to you. May Siddhi become a great servant of the Vaishnavas, help to expand Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement at this very beginning of its march towards the middle of Kali Yuga. And may she be a delight to her parents. May she be healthy, wealthy, and successful in all her endeavors. Hare Krishna. Any other announcements? Who are the cooks for this morning? Bhaktavatsal. Bhaktavatsal Prabhu cooked today. Let's have a hand for Bhaktavatsal Prabhu. And anything else? sets. We have Bhagavatam sets, and we're turning our attention towards these sets because Prabhupada brought them to us. And he asked that every gentlewoman in America have a set of books. And so we've thought that this would be a nice challenge, something to concentrate on, is to have a full set of Prabhupada's books in everyone's home in Silicon Valley. So we're getting more and more sets from India. We're having them shipped over. And now we just have to make them available to people. And one thing is that a lot of people don't have sets. There's the full Bhagavatam, full Chaitanya Charitamrita, and people that you know, that you meet, that don't have them, that have some spark for spiritual life and want to know what's the next step. Tell them that they should have a full set of Prabhupada's books in their house. It really changes people once they get the full set there. And so wherever you go, when you meet people, you could talk about the set, bring it up, because the more you show, correct. And we're going to be bringing in many sets and then moving them out, especially Bhagavatam sets between now and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day, which is on July 10th. So we're especially focused on that. So keep your mind fixed on sets and presenting sets, okay?
I'd like to give some testimony on the power of these books. Thank you. So, is he it? Okay. So I just really wanted to give a little bit of personal testimony on the power of these books, because my father used to work for the United States Department of Agriculture years ago when I was a young guy. And some Hare Krishna people came up to him and they said, "Hey, would you like to buy some of our books?" And he said, "No, not really. I have things to do." But anyway, they were very persistent. And my father ended up with a set of Bhagavatams in his trunk of the car. And he had a habit of coming home, especially on the weekend after he got paid, and he always put books on my shelf in front of my room. Different things for me to read like that. And so he came and he put this whole set of Bhagavatams on my bookshelf, and he said, "Here, some religious people came and pushed these books on me, and I didn't really want them." Well, I didn't really know how to read it very well, and Sanskrit was really foreign to me, but I looked at all the pictures, and I thought, wow, that's really cool, all that stuff. And then, so 10 years later, I actually met some real devotees that explained to me what was in those books, and I wasn't able to really understand them at the time when I was just a little guy. And so I'm here today because some devotees were extremely persistent in pushing some books on my father. I also believe it mitigated his bad karma of having to work for the United States Department of Agriculture and giving the books. And so, I'm a servant for devotees of the Lord because Prabhupada brought me here. Through these books 3 years ago. So they are like, what did he call them? Like, I read in Prabhupada Vali, he told one devotee they're like a time bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Tick, tick.
So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
It just cost $220 only.
Only?
Only.
Okay, so they're on sale between now and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day, which is July 10th, for only $210. 18 volume set. 18,000 slokas, 18,000 volumes.
How many bitcoins would that be? 12 cantos.
Yes. Oh, give her the microphone. Let's hear this over again.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I'd like to take 2 boxes of Srimad Bhagavatam because, we're going to start up with just women DYS programs on Wednesday morning. Vishaka Mataji has kindly agreed to, is the one who's behind it, to do that class. And so I just happened to meet some people, and they came to my house, looked at my Bhagavatam, they wanted to know more and more. So I thought it'll be nice to have the Bhagavatam set in front, explain, and, hopefully we will be able to distribute them.
2 sets of Srimad Bhagavatam. And just interestingly enough, last night when we were having a discussion about sets, Then one of the other devotees on the line, Dimitri Prabhu, he took 3 sets. So 5 sets gone. Only 70 more to go before Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day. Hare Krishna. Sharirat vijaja jodendriya tahika jive pile vishaya shagare dharma jedi vayati lobamai sudhurmati Taki jita katita samsare Krishna bododoya moy koribare jiva jai Shaprasharanati lobai Shayanamrita pao Radha Krishna Gunaga Preme Dako Shri Chaitanya Nita Ekadina Shanti Pure Prabhu Advaitera Gare Dui Prabhu Bhojane Boshilo Shakori Ashwadana Prabhu Bole Bhakta Gana Esha Krishna Ashwadilo Heno Shakashwadane Krishna Prema Aishe Mane She Preme Koro Ashwadan Jada Buddhi Parihari Prasara Bhojana Kori Hari Hari Bolo Sarvajan Sachirangani Kabu Madhavendra Puri Prabhu Prasadana Korena Bojan Kaite Kaite Tara Ailo Prema Sudurba Vole Shuno Sanyasiragan Mocha Kanta Pula Bari Dali Dalna Chachari Sachi Mata Kori Lorandan Tara Shudha Bhakti Heri Bojana Kori Lohari Shudha Samayanam Vyanjan Yogi Jogi Pai Jaha Bhoge Ajhabetaha Hari Boli Kausabibai Krishnera Prasanana Tri Jagat Kori Danya Tripurari Chahapai Tripurari Nache Jahapai Mahaprashare Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Kapa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishwaso Navajayate Prasade Sarvatukanam Hanirasyo Pajayate Prasanna Chetaso Yashu Puri Paryavatishtate Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasade Ki Jai Go Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Varhapidam Natavaravapu Karnayo Karnikaram Vibradvasa Kanata Kapisham Baijayantim Chabalam Randran Venur Adara Sudaya Purnayan Gopa Vrindar Vrindaranyam Swapadaramanam Pravisha Gita Kirti Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaha Shravanamangalam Srimadatatam Bhuvigranantiye Bhuridajana Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Kala Pato Jani Brajita Sadbhakta Valihamsa Chakra Madhupa Shreni Viharaspadam Karnanandi Kaladani Vahatu Me Jihva Maru Prangane Shri Chaitanya Dayani Detavalasa Lila Sudha Swadhune Helandu Nita Kedaya Vishadaya Promilada Modaya Shamyat Shastra Vivadaya Rasadaya Chita Pito Madaya Shashvad Bhakti Vinodaya Samadaya Madhurya Mayadaya Shri Chaitanya Daya Nidhe Tavadaya Uyaramando Daya Shri Chaitanya Daya Nidhe Tavadaya Bhuyaramando Daya. Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna.